forward.
There was and remains no doubt about what the NPA and law enforcement more broadly needed to then and still needs to do to take the important work of the Commission forward. We need to ensure now justice and accountability. We hear the calls for prosecutions, for orange overalls. I must confess, Chief Justice, that in this regard, the Zondo Commission perhaps created unrealistic expectations, since the public tend to assume that matters before the Commission were ready for criminal trials. Today, Chief Justice, I can confidently say that we've heeded your remarks.
The former PA to ex-Free State Premier Ace Magashule has filed an urgent application in the Free State High Court. 37-year-old Moradi Cholota wants an order declaring her unrest unlawful and unconstitutional. She contends that the 255 million rand asbestos corruption and fraud charges against her emanate from her refusal to comply with the state's demands for specific testimony on the matter. The urgent matter is scheduled to be heard on Monday. The case of 10 MK Party MPs challenging their dismissal from the party has been postponed to the 3rd of September in the Western Cape High Court. The MK MPs also want an interdict preventing the swearing in of new party MPs. In papers filed in court, the 10 MPs claimed that they were turned away from their parliamentary villages on Monday, but were allowed back after intervention by their lawyers. The lawyer of the dismissed MPs, Wendy Cele, says the MK party members were not consulted and proper processes were not followed to expel them.
They are seeking for setting aside and reviewing of their termination from the MK party. Today we were in court for an urgent interdict, interdicting the swearing in of the incoming members in Parliament. Well, the matter has been adjourned to the 3rd of September. In the interim, both parties are going to exchange their answering affidavits and replying affidavits. The second respondent, being the Speaker of the National Assembly, has abided to our application. So we shall wait for the 3rd of September for the courts to make a finding based on our papers.
And a new law has come into force in Hungary which threatens to force thousands of Ukrainian refugees onto the streets or back to Ukraine. 13 such regions are on the list, which will be updated monthly by the Hungarian government. The BBC's Nick Thorpe has the details.
From today, only Ukrainians who come from regions directly affected by military operations remain eligible for Hungarian state support, which includes free housing and a basic monthly sum. According to the latest Eurostat data, Hungary is providing support for 31,000 Ukrainians, but it's not known how many will be affected. Human rights groups say the most vulnerable are those from the Roma ethnic minority, originally from the western Ukrainian region of Transcarpathia, still living in shelters which must now close.
The top story at 3 o'clock, Action SA's Nobuhle Mthembu has been elected as the new speaker in the city of Joburg. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
And coming up in your sports, the Sao Kaizer Chiefs sign Angolan defender. Women's T20 World Cup moved to the UAE from Bangladesh, and Verstappen looking for a home win to end losing streak. More details at 3:30.
The basic needs of the masses of the people must be addressed.
When scores of South Africans across the country cast their first democratic vote in those long crisscrossing queues, when we laid our hands on that coveted Webb Ellis Cup for the very first time, when Mzansi's early risers beat daybreak in huddles of 4-4 Mahlalisane to dig precious gold and keep our economy alive, through the TV screen, the mobile app, and the unshakable power of radio, we are the gateway to the twists and turns of Mzansi's maturing democracy. Weave your brand into the fabric of South Africa's colorful story and be there. Contact SABC Sales at sabc.co.za for more.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more. Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Borussia Dortmund understands the delight that comes with triumphing the opening clash of the league race. But Eintracht Frankfurt are not about dropping points this early. They want to complete their visit to Signal Iduna Park with 3 incredible points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the hot contest between Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt on Saturday, 24 August at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
And it's a warm welcome and a good afternoon to you today to the National Pulse. My name is Ashraf Garda. As always, we pick up the big issues that moves the nation, that moves and reflects the pulse of the nation. As I talk to you, by the way, I've just decided to follow Nobutle Mthembu on the Twitter X platform for the first time. Why? Because she's the Joburg speaker, suddenly thrust into prominence, and that's what happens. What do you know about her? She's an Action SA party member, which is therefore that position that she's now earned is part of that negotiation within Joburg. Remember, the Action SA ultimately had to do a deal with the ANC, the same party that they said they will not do any business with, and they're not the only ones. There are many other political parties who in the last few months have been very clear up front, we will not deal with party XYZ no matter what, but they've clearly done that. So we chatted to Margaret Arnolds yesterday. She's not the speaker anymore. We have a new mayor as well. All this part of a very, very new deal on these issues. Right, what about your thoughts on the big issues that moves the National Pulse? 086 000 2032. What would you like to raise? 0614 104 107. That's sending out voice notes. You can also text a message to that number. And as always, you can tweet out as well as Facebook with your pictures wherever you may be in the country with your dial locked into SFM. It'll be great to connect you on that basis. Right, let's get, however, if we're saying we have a new speaker in the city of Joburg as significant, then certainly last night's farewell dinner was significant. Let's play that.
Honor and privilege for me to serve you, the people of South Africa, as your Chief Justice. Thank you.
And that, if you would acknowledge, is the unmistakable voice of the Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. In fact, this morning, so last night, big farewell dinner. This morning, he understand past his last judgment. Things are moving on, so we now set for a new Chief Justice. So let's talk about that. Many people were there. No, I was not there to that farewell dinner. Remember his career, a 27-year career in the judiciary, right? And so last day, I think end of this month in particular. Let's look at what happened last night and some of the pronouncements made, and then the way to the future with Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC News political editor. Good chatting to you as always. You're live with the National Pulse.
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and then of course we've just come back from that farewell again. Now.
I was just going to ask you, I gather you were there, right? You were there.
Yeah, just now. I've just come back from it now.
So last night was let's see the difference. Last night was some banquet, and today was a farewell Farewell lunch? Is a different thing completely?
Yeah, I think today was more of a formalized environment. In fact, what they intended to do today, Ashraf, was that they needed to allow him to do one last bit in terms of his responsibility as a judge. So he delivered his final judgment today, the judgment that related to a defense force employee who took leave, and then so there were issues that, of course, and that employee actually was awarded. So he basically won that case. So which means he will be paid from the 3rd of January 2012 until today. So you can imagine, for a whole 11 years of payment. So he's basically won a lottery.
Okay, so that is quite significant. What was the lunch, the official farewell today? What was it like? I mean, give us a sense of the type of conversations that took place.
Oh, of course. I mean, you had the high-profile individuals who came to grace the occasion. Among them, the former president of the country, President Mbeki, a number of judges, retired judges, Judge Grechla, Judge Mogoeng, Judge Seneke, and of course, many others. And not only that, you also had other luminaries really from other sectors of society who had come to bid farewell, and all his colleagues from around the country, from all these divisions. So they came basically, and the organizations, the legal professional organizations, NADAO, Black Lawyers Association, NPA, even the Speaker of Parliament. So you basically had all the arms of state there, but also the professional bodies that came to really bid farewell to a job well done. And then, of course, they highlighted so many things and his background and how he rose through the ranks. And one of the things that I found quite interesting, Ashraf, was that, I mean, as he himself was speaking, he basically said, I think when he was first appointed to the Labour Court, it was President Mbeki, and then to the Concord, it was President Zuma, and then to the Chief Justice, it was President Ramaphosa. He was basically saying just about every, outside of Nelson Mandela, the former president, every president of a democratic era had a hand in his rights. So, which basically meant there's something they saw.
Okay, quite interesting. I mean, I would take it that today ultimately would be very celebratory, very much backslapping, just to say, hey, well done, well done. But is there anything, therefore, that stood out for you?
I think for me, what really stood out was, I think in occasions like this, Ashraf, you always go back and check who the man is. It is the humble beginning that defined the man. So the man was raised by a single mother from a rural village, impoverished, and how, I mean, his mother even made sure that he go to school when he made an arrangement with a local shop with an owner, so where they couldn't provide money, but they said every month then you come and get the groceries so that your child is not distracted because he has the potential. So for me, that kind of a story really was so touching, and how he has touched many lives along the way. So it's really been remarkable. You look at his friendship with Justice Mogoeng and others, and how when they started at university, they were the poorest, but they said whatever boundaries they thought were there, they will not be defined by them, so they will make sure that they achieve. And look where they are now. I mean, they ended up achieving the highest in terms of the careers that they have chosen.
Absolutely. What about Chief Justice Zondo himself? I mean, what did he say today?
You know, one of the things that he said, he basically said the judiciary from certain sections of society is under attack. So it gets accused, then it is captured. And then he wants his colleagues to say, in order for this country to survive, to stand, it needs a strong judiciary. Don't be intimidated. Don't be scared. It is your singular responsibility to ensure that you discharge your responsibilities fairly, without bias, without prejudice. He basically said, it's not about you as an individual or as a judge. It's about the application and the interpretation of the law. That is what basically he said. And then he said around the state capture, because there was even the head of the NPA, Shamila Batoyi, he basically said, you know what? He would be happy if some of those recommendations are taken to finality. So, but clearly, those processes will have to be followed.
What about, I suppose, the natural thing is to reflect on his achievements, and as we know, in terms of particularly his role in terms of state capture, the state capture report, there are many, many people who are incredibly praiseworthy of him, and others are critical, right? So I suppose naturally, whether it's formal or even informal table talk conversations, will move to that sort of conversation. What did the people say? Is there anything you could pick out in terms of what was said?
One of the things, and that lends itself to the ordinary people or just to the gallery. I mean, every time there would be a mention of former President Zuma and the kind of role that he may have had in his life. So people will always say, you know what, if you are in this job, you need courage. And perhaps that courage is seen through Zondo, that it was demonstrated that it doesn't matter. Once you have decided to follow the law, you can take even the most powerful. And I think, so what perhaps will be seen as having defined who Zondo was is that even in the most difficult of times, he was able to take the job which was seen as the most difficult. Remember, Ashraf, there are so many judges who were consulted, who were approached for this job to chair the commission. So he was basically the last resort, so to speak, because himself and the Chief Justice then Mukweng were sitting together, phoning a number of judges, saying they needed to take up this job. So they were not available. And then it turned out that at the end, Chief Justice Mukweng said to Judge Don to say, Deputy Chief Justice, so would you be able to take this kind of a job? And then he said, if that's what the nation requires of me, I will. And then we know what happened, particularly the issue around the former President Jacob Zuma, those people, and then of course what ended up happening. So that's what really defines that's how people speak about Judge Zondo. But of course, that evokes mixed emotions. Others very critical of Zondo, but others very persuasive.
Absolutely. And maybe therefore the best way to end with you, because I want to throw this to the audience as well, is like, how about you giving us one word that for you best defines his career as in a legal fraternity? Just one word.
I would say Judge Zondo epitomized courage.
Okay. So courage would be your word. Well, good talking to you as always. Just by the way, while I've got you very quickly, we know we were going to speak to the president yesterday. That didn't happen. How's his eyes now? I mean, you should know.
Yes, but it's getting better. It's getting better, and of course, you're quite correct. We were scheduled to speak to him yesterday, and then so he had an eye infection. And in fact, Ashraf, so for the benefit of our listeners, so I had the opportunity. So I was the one who was called to go and see, and then of course I could see that it wouldn't be proper for him to appear on television, because I can tell you now, no one would be speaking about the interview because it was quite serious. It had just started, and I think it was tearing. So but it is getting better. It looks like tomorrow's function, where he's to officiate at the signing ceremony, will continue. So which does then give you an indication that it's getting better. So we hope once it's healed, then we're back with that interview.
And of course, you are now the eye inspector. Now we know man of many talents. Absolutely. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much as always. Good chatting to you. Right, there we are. That's it. Fascinating insights there, and the words that was used, right, would be from Mzondile says like courage, one word. So what about you? What about you calling in or WhatsApping in whichever way, or even posting on social media? Just use, and I don't want a sentence, just use one word that best describes outgoing Judge Raymond Zondo, and then you can give one line, not a paragraph, one line that gives support to the one word. So you got that one word that best describes his career, and then one sentence that gives support to why you've chosen that one word. Can you do that? 0614 104 107. You can text us right away.
Winners Finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
Every day our children are exposed to relentless marketing of unhealthy foods where they live, learn and play. This aggressive marketing of unhealthy foods to children can shape their eating habits and food preferences for the rest of their lives. I'm your host, Crystal Alderson. Is Big Food stalking our children? Watch Chew on This on healer.org on Thursday, 15th August at 3 p.m.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Right, you could get a great deal on your car insurance premium when you call Outsurance. You should know that by now. And be like a 53-year-old Naya who pays only 1,059 rands to insure his white 2023 Ford Ranger XLDC with Outsurance. Get a quote now. It's pretty easy. SMS OUT to 30754. That's out to 30754, and you can do that now. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's available online.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
Right, let me hear it. What's your one word that you would use to describe the legacy of the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo? Just one word, and then you can also add one line to support your one word. If you want to call in, you can do that as well. 086 000 2032. And while you're thinking about it, just in your mind, internalize what for you are the big issues that moves the national pulse today. Let's get to the global watch now. The European Union is planning to introduce a €7, which is a £6 EU visa waiver for some non-EU citizens by the summer of 2025. And as I read this, I'm saying, goodness, they could do this now, man. Why wait for another year? Anyway, that's their plan. Under new rules, visitors from a list of non-EU countries, including the UK, which is a non-EU country, if you know the history, after Brexit, will need to apply for a waiver similar to a US extra before travelling to 30 countries in Europe. The EU has not yet announced a firm start date for the scheme. The BBC's Ben Bolus filed this report.
There are two main changes coming in. The first is an electronic entry and exit system. The second is the European Travel Information and Authorisation System. A mouthful, but it's basically a form for any non-EU passport holders to fill in and pay for before travelling. Now, the first one of those, the entry-exit system, will track where and when people enter and leave the EU. That's to make sure that you haven't stayed over the allowed 90 days in a 6-month period. We'll have fingerprints taken and a face scan for the first time, but we won't need to have passports stamped. The biggest change for most of us will be the ETIAS, that's the visa waiver system. It'll be an online form requiring passport details and where you're staying, plus a fee of €7 or £6. And you have to do this before you travel. The area covered doesn't include Ireland or Cyprus, though. This whole thing is a bit like the visa waiver scheme you may have used if you've been on holiday to the United States. The European Union says the entry-exit system, that's the one that needs fingerprints and face scans, should be running by this November. The ETIAS form and €7 payment should then begin by the middle of next year, potentially as early as May. But don't fret, there will be a 6-month transition period at first, so you won't be refused entry if you've forgotten but everything else is in order. However, expect that by November next year, you will need to have filled in an ETIAS form and paid that €7 before you go on holiday. So the question is, what if, when all of this is fully in place, you were to turn up at an airport or ferry terminal having forgotten to complete this new requirement?
From what I can see, ETIAS will be a lot more user-friendly than the American ESTA. First of all, it's much cheaper, just €7 or £6. It's valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever is the sooner. And crucially, the expectation is that the vast majority of holidaymakers will get an ETIAS issued within minutes of putting in the online application. So if you forget and you turn up at the airport and you've only got a couple of hours before your flight, it probably won't be too late.
We've also been out to ask what potential travellers think about the changes.
I think it's typical of the European Union, because I voted to leave, I think now that was a mistake and we should get back in, because otherwise those kind of things are going to happen again and again. But it won't stop me going, because you can't even get a cup of coffee for €7, so it doesn't make a lot of difference.
I didn't want to leave Europe anyway, so it's just an extra tax to go on holiday and explore the country and the world, so yeah, not great.
I'm not agree with this tax. I think it's really unfair with the Britannic citizen. I'm from France, so sorry if my English is not perfect, but for me it should stay free. For example, I come there in your country and it's free, so why do you have to pay to come in mine? It makes no sense.
Of course, the remaining specific dates still need to be confirmed by the European Union, but these changes are worth bearing in mind if you're planning a holiday next summer or perhaps a ski trip the following winter, so 2025. I know there's a lot of detail there. There is a full article on the BBC News website. If you want to have a look at that, it's on the app as well. It runs through all those key points, the key dates, and how it will affect any of us planning summer holidays to the EU next year.
And I asked you, what's your one word to describe the legacy of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo? Just give me one word and then maybe explanation thereafter in one line. Here's one. Dawn, or rather Oswin says, complete. Appears to finish everything he starts. So that's his one word, complete. Okay. Here's another comment. Ashraf, let me see. When I heard, no, I can't get that one. Right, let's see. When I heard Justice Zondo mention former president as the one who appointed him to chair the State Capture Commission, I realized that the man can play politics very well. He knows very well that he was appointed by Justice Mogoeng and not Zuma. Zuma was forced by Thuli Madonsela's remedial actions. Okay, and here's another one. D from Valcom saying, one word, commitment. He didn't back down, especially in the State Capture Commission. So keep it going. Your one word, just one word to describe for you the legacy of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and then a one-liner to give support to your one word. I'm sure you can do that. WhatsApp 0614 104 107. You can also tweet it out. X, just tag us on the as you tweet, just tag SFM Radio, tag me as well, Ashraf Garda. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 3:30. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Ashraf, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines this hour, Action SA's Nobuhle Mthembu has been elected as the new speaker in the city of Joburg. The case against the 8 former VIP Presidential Protection Unit officers has been postponed to tomorrow in the Randburg Magistrates Court, and Barack and Michelle Obama have enthusiastically endorsed Kamala Harris's bid for the White House at the Democratic Convention. And those are your headlines. A full news update coming up 4 o'clock.
SAFM guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The M2 has delays between Crown Interchange and Main Reef Road. The N12 eastbound in Germiston has a stationary truck reported after the Edenvale Road exit, and Rebecca Street in Pretoria has an explosion reported that's near Carl Street, so you're asked to expect delays and diversions. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction and the M13 eastbound in Kloof has a crash reported on Fields Hill. In Cape Town, the M3 northbound is queuing at Paradise Road. The M5 southbound slow moving towards Cromboom Road, and Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, let's talk sport. Our Minister of Sport, what's the big story?
Well, we start off with transfer news. Kaizer Chiefs have announced the signing of Angolan defender Inacio Miguel from Petro de Luanda. Miguel touched down in South Africa yesterday and comes into the club with the hopes of helping the defensive woes of Amakosi, who have problems because of injuries. Dylan Solomons, Edmilson and new signing Sam are currently on the sidelines nursing the injuries which have left a void at the back. And in the last season, the 28-year-old participated in 23 games across all competitions for Petro, and he also contributed 3 goals in the process. In terms of Chiefs, they start their league campaign against Marumo Gallants on the 14th of September at the Toyota Stadium in Bloemfontein at 5:30. Meanwhile, Banyana defender Nokomatlo has returned to Spain and signed a 1-year deal with CP Cicereno Femenino. The 38-year-old arrived in Spain this morning and will have her first training session tonight, with her first game possibly on the 8th of September. Matlo is the second most capped Banyana player with 173 caps. 38 years old, and clubs still want her. A big congratulations to her. Elsewhere, LK Gundogan has reportedly agreed a return to Manchester City. A year's contract is on the table in principle, with the option of a further year. He was reportedly given the green light to leave Barcelona, and interestingly enough, he's making the switch on a free transfer. In cricket, the Women's T20 World Cup scheduled for October has been moved to the United Arab Emirates from Bangladesh, which has been rocked by political turmoil and violence in recent weeks. Now, Bangladesh will still act as host nation, but all matches will be played in the UAE. The ICC says that a number of participating countries had issued travel advisories for Bangladesh, effectively preventing the country from hosting the tournament. And in terms of the Women's T20 World Cup, it's scheduled for the 3rd to the 20th of October, and it will be the 9th edition of the Global Championship with 10 countries involved. Then in rugby, Jake White says that the changing of the World Cup winning squad will put Rassie Erasmus' man management skills through an extreme test, as the Springboks target a 3 feet in Australia in 2027. The Springboks are just about halfway through their 2024 season, but Erasmus has already started to set that wheel in motion for a changing of the guard that won the back-to-back World Cup titles in 2019 and 2023. So far, 11 players have made their test debuts for South Africa across the 6 matches played this year, and we're looking forward to seeing how he's going to do or continue with the change in the national team. Then moving on to athletics, South African discus thrower Simone Kreur is entering the upcoming Paralympic Games in Paris that is set for the 28th of August to the 8th of September as a very strong medal contender. Earlier this year, she broke the world record with a throw of 38.82 meters at the World Para-Athletic Championship, solidifying her status as the world record holder. And this will be her second appearance at the Paralympic Games following her debut at the Tokyo 2020 Games.
I would like the gold, definitely. But I think on the day, what happens is going to happen because you put in the effort, you do everything you can to get to that position that you want. But I think on the day, it's going to be God's plan, definitely. So I think I can do the hard work to get there, but on the day, we're just going to see what happens. But that's definitely the plan, so yeah.
Right, let's move on to tennis action. Nick Kyrgios, Denis Shapovalov and Liam Brody are amongst the players who have criticized the process, which has led to Yannick Sinner avoiding a ban for 2 failed drug tests. Sinner was cleared of wrongdoing after testing positive for low traces of an anabolic steroid, which is said to have come from his physio. A lengthy report accepted Sinner's reasoning that Nadli, his physio, had been using a product which contains the banned substance to treat a cut on his own hand. And I guess the big question is around how other players that got banned for contaminated substances are feeling right now after Sinner was let go. Well, with that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
You want to any thoughts on what was said about Russell's challenges from Jake White? I mean, that's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously.
Because if he doesn't, you can't keep the same team. He's kept it for 2 World Cups. That's amazing. There has to be change. Otherwise, so as they do these changes, there would be what? There'll be moments they'll lose.
It's trial and error. It's trial and error, but the fact that there's already 11 players that have made their test debuts, that Rassie is introducing into the national team, you can already see that he's already somehow trying to change the guard in the national team. And I mean, the big question has always been, if you're going to change the team, how do you do it? And I think perhaps the way that he's doing it gradually, it's working.
Well, let's see. They certainly beat Australia with more than a gradual change. Now they've got the All Blacks coming up soon. We'll see what happens. More sport from the Minister of Sport in an hour's time. Thank you.
SA Women Struggles Journal. #Women's Month. Celebrating 30 years of democracy towards women's development. SAFM celebrates the power, resilience and brilliance of women. It's Women's Month, and we're honoring the incredible contributions of women in our communities, our workplaces, and our homes. Join SAFM in recognizing the achievements, strengths, and spirit of women everywhere. Let's uplift and empower each other today and every day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
We've had so many people commenting on my question to you. One word to describe the legacy of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Just one word and then maybe a sentence to explain the word. That's it. Lots of people commenting. Here's another lucky Michelle saying, Ashraf, it's passionate. Okay, that's your one word. Let's get to some of your voice notes as well. Here's one.
Good afternoon, Mr. Garda. My word is perfect. And I'm choosing perfect because he did his work by the way no honest person can deny. I'm Kesh Namkas in Nambe Village. Thanks.
Okay, and there's more.
Rock of Gibraltar, firm and shaken, face of justice. Lisa from Brooklyn.
Afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. One way to describe Mr. Chachu Zondo, it's focus, because the man can stand on his weights. Thank you. It's Kangashiba Segwatwataza Ekop.
Unfinished. That's my one word for Justice Zondo, because we had the Zondo Commission and nobody was charged, nobody went to prison. It's unfinished. We spent such a lot of money on the commission, and all the main characters have not been charged. Thanks, Vince, Cape Town.
Remember, Vince, it's not really his job to charge them. Once they've delivered that report, it's really up to the prosecuting authorities to do that. But so yours is unfinished. The others are really fascinating. From perfect to Rock of Gibraltar to focused. Wow, got that. Really interesting. Keep them coming. Love to hear more. There's another one says, excellent. He knows his job. And he's the kind of judge that Mzansi needs, just like CJ Mogoeng. He's into politics, you know that, right? Let's get into other issues that must concern you. Yes, good news, right? Stats SA announcing today that the country's consumer price index has declined to a 3-year low of 4.6%. That's in the month of July. That's down from 5.1% in June. So what does all that mean? Let's find out from Dr. Azar Jammine, who's the director and the chief economist at Econometrics. Dr. Jammine, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon to you and to your listeners.
Right. So, first of all, are you surprised at this decline? A 2-month decline, I understand, yeah?
We were. I don't think I was surprised that the inflation rate declined. What I am surprised by was the extent to which it declined. It was greater than had been anticipated, but I suppose, there are reasons to explain it.
And what would they be, yeah?
First of all, we know that fuel prices declined by more than R1 a litre at the beginning of July. Secondly, we know that international food prices have been quite suppressed, and linked to that, the most important factor is the rand has strengthened quite a lot. But by July, it had already strengthened a fair amount.
Okay, I'm just trying to check if we...
The imported prices coming down.
I just lost you for a second. Just repeat that last line, Dr. Jammine.
The strong rand has meant that the rate of increase in import prices has been very low. So that has also helped to suppress the prices of food, for example.
Okay. What about the big issue for many of us would be, okay, so if CPI goes down in successive months, then that must have an impact on interest rates, the dreaded interest rates. What do you expect there?
Well, without a doubt, the fact that this CPI inflation figure was much lower than expected, that in turn translates into the possibility that the inflation rate will go even lower than previously anticipated and might even drop below 4% before the end of the year. Now, that's well below the 4.5% target that the Reserve Bank has. So I think there's now a fairly strong chance that the Reserve Bank will decide to cut the repo rate at its MPC meeting next month.
Okay, and that would be, I mean, you would be supportive of that, right?
I would be supportive of that. I think the question some people are asking now is, will the Reserve Bank cut by 0.5% or by just 0.25%? And I'm suggesting, no, they'll just leave it at 0.25%. A little more space to cut by another 0.25% in November and possibly again in January next year.
It's all very complex. I mean, it does. You mentioned the issue of petrol prices or oil prices as number one factor. How do we insulate against that? It just shows you how vulnerable we are, isn't it? You have global issues, prices or fuel prices go up, and suddenly inflation takes a turn again.
You can't really insulate yourself unless you change the government tried to do that last year by foregoing the fuel levy for 1 month. I think it was August last year, in order to prevent the fuel price from rising further than it might otherwise have done. But it came at a cost to the government that it had to recoup through higher taxes later in the year.
Yeah, so it's never win-win-win. There's always compromises that there needs to be made, right? Any final thoughts, going forward in terms of what are the other factors you'd want to look out for besides a potential interest rate cut?
Yes, I mean the big elephant in the room, as they call it, is the fact that administered prices of things like electricity, water, rates and taxes, all controlled not by market forces but by the government itself and public authorities themselves, are still increasing at an unacceptably high rate. And that is what is preventing the inflation rate from falling even faster than might otherwise have been the case.
Okay, well, that's something we're going to keep an eye on. I appreciate you giving up your time today, Dr. Azar Jammine, the Director, Chief Economist at Econometrics. Thanks for your time. What do you make of that? Are you excited about a potential, even if it's just 0.25% interest rate cuts maybe next month or 0.5%? I think 1% looks unlikely, but the fact that inflation is going down, does that excite you to the same way that excites you when I tell you, give me your one word to describe the legacy of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, maybe one line to explain that one word? Well, go ahead and do that, because this is the National Pulse, and your views, you're a key driver of the National Pulse. I'll take some calls and voice notes after this.
Winners, finalists, fan favorites, and viral sensations from previous seasons of America's Got Talent return to the stage to compete for the All-Star title. Join Heidi Klum, Howie Mandel, and Simon Cowell as they decide who is the best of the best. The creme de la creme, the top dog, is in Tamatota. It's a festival of talent on America's Got Talent All-Stars. Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. on S3. Channel your best entertainment with America's Got Talent All-Stars. Only on S3. Open up.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
Reigning champions, the Citizens, fully get it that early wins in the league serves you right when pressure kicks in.
On it goes to Foden, 2-0! The master marksman, Phil Foden, you absolute beauty!
However, the Tractor Boys believe they have what it takes to prevail in the Big Boys League.
Burns again, another opportunity, it burns!
This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting battle between Manchester City FC and Ipswich Town FC on Saturday 24 August at 3 p.m. Live on SABC3 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so we're going to chat to Tani Kuzwayo, the former MK Party MP, regarding the fact that, many of the, or 10 of the 18 MK Party MPs that were expelled have taken the MK Party to court. We'll talk about that pretty shortly. Let's get further voice notes. Lots of people have lots of comments about Judge Zondo.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and your team there. Flores here from the Western Cape. Ashraf, what moves my pulse today is that Jacob Zuma's press conference tomorrow, you can be sure that there's going to be surprises. And yeah, Floyd Savambo, I think everyone is waiting in anticipation to see where he will be placed on the food chain of the MK. Yeah, so looking forward to former President Jacob Zuma. Yeah, you know this guy. He is a master of disaster, or shall I say he's a master in chess. He just knows when and how to make a move. And one thing about chess players, they have a very good memory, so he knows what people has done to him, and he is going to come out guns blazing in that press conference. Have a great show. Bye.
Thank you so much. I tell you what, master of disaster and then master chess player, two different things. I tell you what, the one thing about chess is you must have patience, because chess is a long game.
Afternoon, Ashraf and the listeners. This is Magdalene from Bloom. Ashraf, is it possible for you to can call Dade Jabulani Kumalo, the founder of MK, to come and give clarity on how MK was formed? and the relationship of Ndate Zuma in the MK, and when did it start, so that we have a clear air and we understand clearly actually what's happening there by MK, and we should be in a position to can detect the personal trait of Jacob Zuma within South Africa. I think it's important for the whole nation to understand Jacob Zuma's traits. Not any problem, thank you.
All right, thanks for the call. I think you're right. Let's see. I'm looking at keys and getting Temba to say, come on, we need to make sure that we get that story of the MK party from the very, very beginning, right? Okay, let's get to other issues now. So, in fact, very related to what you've just raised, right? 10 of the 18 MK party MPs who were expelled from the party 2 weeks ago went to court today to challenge their dismissal. It's a huge issue, isn't it? And the former MK party students movement convener, that's Thamsanqa Kuzwayo, is one of those members. So Tami Kuzwayo is with us, former MK party MP. Let's get his thoughts. Appreciate your time. You're live with the National Pulse.
Hi, how are you, Garda?
I'm very good indeed, right. So, first things first, I understand the case has been postponed till next month, but let's start at the beginning. Why did you feel the need to take this case to court?
Well, Mr. Garda, thank you so much for having me on your platform. Firstly, I'm not a former member of the MK party, and I'm also not a former MP. The matter is in court. And according to my knowledge, I've never signed any resignation letter that says I'm resigning from the party. And due to that process, which is propaganda that I resigned, that the chief whip, Mr. Sishengubane, sent to Parliament to say I've resigned, and so automatically I can no longer represent the MK party in Parliament. So those are false allegations. I've never signed any resignation letter, and I had no plans of doing that.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up, because it gives us a sense of what you feel about your own position anyway, right? How did you feel when you were asked to step down, and not just you, many of the others too, to effectively make space for others?
Well, God, it came as a very huge ambush to all of us, because we did not receive any communication from the party itself, or even from the chief whip, because, we share offices there and we meet on a daily basis on corridors. We even go to him to report some of the matters within Parliament, but he had never shared anything with us, whether by its word of mouth or by anything in writing. We only received letters from Parliament to say that our membership has been terminated. So that is why we're in court today. Number one, I need to clarify the fact that we're not fighting against the President Jacob Zuma. We joined this MK party because we believe in President Jacob Zuma's vision for this country to liberate our people and to assist our people in getting a more just and free South Africa.
So who are you fighting with then?
The fight is with the people who committed fraud, who created and fraudulently signed resignation letters on our behalf, and also say that we have been expelled and we received expulsion letters, which is something that we never did. So the fight is with the process in which this entire thing happened. Let me just put you into confidence that we understand the law, we understand how Parliament works and all of that. So the matter is that it was never communicated with us, because I want to tell you, within us, most of these guys who have been removed are people who are working permanently. Some of them are educators, some of them were working for the municipality, and they were permanently employed. And they took this task, they resigned from their jobs. You understand, they are breadwinners, they are taking their kids to school and all of that. So no one was ever going to take a position in Parliament knowing very well that they will have to stop 2 months down the line. So it makes no sense. So what I'm going to tell you is that there are people within the MK party, particularly those who are leading the MK party within Parliament, who are doing things without consultation with the leadership of the party outside of Parliament. And unfortunately, they are using Baba's name just to do their own shenanigans. So this is what we want to expose, because we are very disciplined members of the organization, but our dignity now is in the line.
Okay, but if you're saying they using former President Jacob Zuma's name, then surely before you even attempt to go to court and fight this issue, your first line would be to actually approach him and say, as the leader of the party, Do you know what other members of your party are doing on your behalf in your name, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, definitely, Garda, as I've said, that we are disciplined members of the organization and we understand the protocol. We have tried to reach out to the president. As a matter of fact, I have been in conversation with the Secretary General of the party through telephonic conversations where we've discussed this matter a plethora of times. We have not been able to see Ubaba, unfortunately. I don't know, maybe it is busy schedule or what, but what I can tell you is that whenever these people whom I'm saying they used the president's name to do whatever they want to do without his knowledge, they will ensure that you do not get to reach him to report them. They protect by themselves by all means. Even if you try to make an appointment, they will make sure it does not happen. So there is an issue that we are facing. It's not a matter of saying we want to put a party in disrepute or we are selling out because there's a lot of claims now. That
I see some people are saying that you're selling out, you're being disloyal to the party. I mean, you don't think you are.
That is a problem in an organization where there is no organizational structure. And you understand the MK Party is still a new organization, so we are still trying to juggle everything and just to make sure that it is a party intact. But unfortunately, there are people who are now using the party as something that belongs to them because they are family and all of that. But this is not a family business.
Okay,
it's a democratic organization.
But you say it's got no organizational structure?
There are temporary structures, but in terms of reporting the channels, even if you report at times, the matter does not reach the highest office, which is the president office. So that is why I'm saying there are no proper organizational channels in which when you have a discrepancy or you want to report something, you are able to make sure that whatever you've reported receives the necessary attention it deserves. So it has not been happening, and that is the issue that we have.
Okay. Normally, right, I mean, the first recourse, and people have grievances every single day of the week, employer, employees, political parties, football clubs, wherever they are. But once you go public and you go to court, I mean, normally, whichever way the court rules, I mean, that marks a clear break-off in cordial relationships between the different parties, right?
No, like I've said, the MK Party is a democratic organization, and when you listen to the president's manifestos, even before or rather prior to the elections in May, he is one person who's fighting for justice for South Africans, justice for natives. Is a person who believes in democracy, that the land belongs to everyone of us.
All right, but I'll say this again. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I mean, of course, you've spoken glowingly about him, and I respect that. But if that's the case, considering he knows that his party has been taken to court, why would he then, who's a man for justice, not effectively reach out to all of you? It's not even one person. It's a whole group of people.
Yeah, like I'm saying, that we understand the democracy that should be there within the MK Party. And if MK Party is really a democratic organization, then there's absolutely nothing wrong when some members of the MK Party feel that an injustice has occurred and they are trying to find resolutions through court. A court is a democratic institution and everyone is welcome to go to court. So this does not mean that we are saying we no longer want to be members of the MK Party or we are divorcing ourselves from the MK Party. We are members of the MK Party and we are just exhausting whatever channels that we enjoy through democratic ways.
What happens if the court rules against you?
The court ruling against whom?
Against all of you.
Well,
what then happens to you and the MK Party and your relationship?
Oh, you are saying if the court rules against us?
Yeah.
Then I think there is a bridge that we'll have to cross when we get to it. But we will remain members of the party until the party says that they no longer need us to be within the party. And again, we want to challenge it because if you want to expel us, want to remove us from the party, then you must give us a presence. We must be to be afforded.
And as we get on to news time, just to confirm, you're saying that that not only have you guys, well, the group been told that you've technically resigned. The point is that you people have written letters, and you're saying those are fraudulent letters. So somebody has written letters and signed them off on your behalf.
Exactly. So that is what we are trying to expose. There are people who wrote fraudulent letters and submitted to Parliament.
Who is that somebody?
Well, according to the correspondence, the Parliament can only communicate with the Chief Whip, and the Chief Whip is Comrade Sihle Ubaba.
Okay, let's leave it at that. We'll certainly follow that story. Appreciate you giving off your time. And yeah, there you are. It's a complex one. New party, certainly fast-growing party. But does it have sort of cracks in terms of its governance that then impacts and plays out, and certainly has many MPs in this case here rather aggrieved. As Tami Kuzwayo says, not former MP, and certainly a member of the MK party. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Madupi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garda. The top stories this hour: an explosion near the SAPS training center in Pretoria, and a new speaker elected in Joburg. A very good afternoon. More than 2,500 police trainees have been evacuated following a gas pipeline explosion near the SAPS Training Academy in Pretoria. Tshwane Metro Police and emergency services are currently on the scene to contain the blaze. The cause of the fire is still unknown. Police spokesperson Atlinda Mate says that the evacuation is a precautionary measure.
The decision to evacuate the trainees, SAPS trainers and members from various specialized units, including the nut joints, was taken following advice and consultation from experts. It should be noted that the training academy is not affected and that the evacuation process is a precautionary measure by management of the SAPS.
Action SA's Nobuhle Mthembu has been elected as the new speaker in the city of Joburg. The Joburg City Council held a special sitting to elect a new speaker at the council's chambers in Braamfontein. This follows the resignation of Margaret Arnolds after the newly elected mayor Dada Morero appointed her as the finance MMC. In a statement released by Action SA, Mthembu says her focus is on getting Joburg back on track as a hub of investment and opportunities. The case against the former VIP Presidential Protection Unit officers has been postponed to tomorrow in the Randburg Magistrates Court. The 8 officers, who are part of Deputy President Paul Mashatile's security detail, are accused of assaulting 3 people travelling on the N1 highway in Joburg in July last year. They're facing various charges, including reckless and negligent driving, pointing a firearm, malicious damage to property, and assault, amongst others. Sashin Naidu has more.
The owner of the vehicle that the victims were travelling in when they were attacked appeared briefly in the dock where she was cross-examined by the defence. She reiterated her testimony under cross-examination, stating that her car was in a very bad condition after the alleged incident and that she believes that the accused must be held liable for their actions. She went on to tell the court that a window was broken and that there were several dents and scratches on the vehicle which wasn't there before the incident. A new witness is expected to take to the stand to testify tomorrow. Sasha Naidu, SABC News at the Randburg Magistrates Court.
The case against the former Sports, Arts and Culture Minister Zizi Kodwa has been postponed to the 10th of next month for a decision by the Director of Public Prosecutions. Kodwa and Jehan McKay made a brief appearance in the Palm Ridge Specialized Commercial Crimes Court today. The state has rejected an application by McKay to have the charges against him dropped. McKay, the former boss of Enterprise Outsourcing Holdings, is accused of paying Kodwa up to 1.7 million rand in kickbacks in exchange for government tenders. And Michelle and Barack Obama have enthusiastically endorsed Kamala Harris's bid for the White House at the Democratic Convention. The former U.S. First Lady told thousands of cheering delegates in Chicago that hope was making a comeback. During his speech, Obama described the Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump as selfish, dangerous, and weirdly obsessed with crowd size. He said that America was ready for a new chapter with Kamala Harris as its president. As the convention continued, Harris addressed an election rally in Wisconsin at the same venue where the Republicans recently held their convention.
This is not just about us versus Donald Trump. This is about 2 very different visions for our nation. One, ours, focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. And And Wisconsin, we fight for the future.
The top story this hour, more than 2,500 police trainees have been evacuated following a gas pipeline explosion near the SAPS Training Academy in Pretoria. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemel.
In sports this hour, All Blacks without veteran enforcer for SA Tour and Thai GP to kick off 2025 and 2026 MotoGP seasons. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, main reef road in Crown as queuing at Church Street. The M1 southbound in central Johannesburg slow moving towards Crown interchange. In Pretoria, Rebecca Street has an explosion event reported near Carl Street, so you're asked to expect delays and diversions. And Roger Dyson Road has delays at Voortrekker Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound has roadworks with traffic restrictions at Manzamtoti. The N2 southbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The M13 eastbound in Kloof has a crash reported on Fields Hill, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Havel Drive southbound is slow moving at Voortrekker Road. The N1 outbound is slow moving towards Okavongo Road exit. The R300 northbound has ramp closure reported with no access to the N2 outbound due to flood recovery works, and the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound queuing towards Hospital Bend. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
18 teams are back on the hunting ground. No one wants a loss or a draw. They are all searching for maximum points in every encounter.
This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be.
Do not miss out on the 2024-2025 Bundesliga season. Catch the action live on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com.
Hashtag We Love It Here.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Feel Good Fridays just got even better with a brand new Espresso newsletter, The Feel Good Fix. Delivered to your inbox every Friday, it is your weekly dose of joy, entertainment, and local flair. Subscribe now at expressoshow.com and never miss a moment.
From heartwarming stories to tasty recipes, it's all there waiting for you. And remember to tune in to the Espresso Morning Show weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on S3, and let's start your day right and channel your inner feel good.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So I've been picking your brain, asking you to, just mention one word that for you best describes the legacy of outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. So how about doing that? One word, and then maybe give me one line to explain your one word. Errol's done that from Durban. Errol saying, "Hi Ashraf, Superman. He is a strong character, intelligent, but humble." What's your one word? You can also call in, by the way, 086 000 2032, and also if you want WhatsApp, besides texting, you can voice note us 0614 104 107, and on the various social media platforms, Facebook as well as on the Twitter or X platform. Check it out. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Now, that's one significant pending retirement. Here's a significant appointment.
And I swear to perform my functions as the Speaker of Council of the City of Johannesburg Metropolitan Municipality to the best of my ability.
Do you know and understand the contents of this declaration?
Yes.
Do you have any objection in taking the prescribed oath?
No.
Do you consider the prescribed oath to be binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Can you please raise up your right hand and say, "So help me God"?
So help me God.
And that's the voice, is a significant voice now in Joburg politics, the newly appointed Speaker of the Joburg Council, Nobutle Mchembu. Hopefully we'll be able to chat to her as soon as possible. Let's get on to other issues that should concern you, right? Well, it certainly concerns me. There's news now of a significant arrest of a suspect in possession of 34 passports at the Lebombo port of entry to Mozambique. Dr. Michael Masiapato is the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority. Let's find out more about that. Appreciate you giving off your time, Dr. Masiapato.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. I see the intro talks about a significant arrest. Is it that significant, one person in possession of 34 passports, or is that very common?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Ashraf. Maybe let me start by indicating that, Ashraf, we had started doing this border management work a bit differently. So one of the initiatives that we started doing, especially during December, and of course, since we have started, we are now continuing with that, is that we are actually deploying the border guards at the entry gate of each and every port of entry, especially the land port of entry. So what then that does is that we make sure that everybody who enters the port of entry is supposed to be somebody with legitimate documentation, and it is somebody with a legitimate traveler. And by doing that, we are then starting to deal with this syndicate that actually had been operating in the ports, doing a lot of illegalities. So this is the reason why you will see a number of these interceptions. And by the way, to us, what is important is not just is an individual, but it is an individual who is part of a network that had continued to cause problems, especially in terms of the stamping of the passports illegally and all of those in our ports of entry. And that is why, to us, this interception is a success.
Yeah, for many of us, when we talk about sort of a leaky border control, they tend to think about, a hole in the fence of the borders, or being able to, or no fence and you just walk through. But your point is that sometimes it's about fraudulent documents that allows people to walk in very, very with confidence, because they sort of legitimately getting into the country, isn't it? And that probably would be a bigger problem, right?
Yeah, you see, when we use the concept porous borders, which is something that has been used over time, it is basically covering two areas. The first area, obviously, is the porousness, even within the actual port of entry itself. And there is basically where we have been starting to put a lot of interventions to arrest that part. Then the second part is the part where people avoid coming into the actual port, but try to go into the borderline. So in the borderline context, we have identified those areas, and we actually categorize them as vulnerable segments. And that is where we then do the deployment of the border guards, working together with the members of the SANDF. So at the end of the day, we are handling both scenarios at a go. But the biggest concern, obviously, is the one where they come through to the port, because that one is the one that actually is a problem for us, primarily because the syndicates actually, in a way, interface with the officials. And that is why we are doing a lot of work to make sure we clean that part too.
Right. What about the numbers? So here in this case here, there's like 30-odd documents. The point that I made even in the intro is like, how common is this? Is this just a one-off where they have as many as 30, or you find there are many examples of like 30, 40, 50 of these travel documents that allows people to access and get into our country?
Yeah, you see, we have started this thing, Ashraf, you will remember on the 12th of November in 2022, we went to the same port at Lebombo together with the then Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Mutsaledi. At the time, we even actually arrested some of the immigration officers, and as well as one police officer, but we also arrested a worker at the time, who was the critical facilitator of these activities at that time. So this is one thing that had always been a problem, and it is something that is fairly common. However, we have identified the key ports that are problematic. The first one, obviously, then Lebombo, followed by Beit Bridge, the one to Zim, as well as Mafuru Bridge on the other side to Lesotho. So those are the ports where we had a lot of these incidences. But what actually is the case here, Ashraf, is the fact that people from SADC are allowed to enter South Africa without necessarily having to produce any visa. So what that means is they actually have what we call 90 days to stay in South Africa without a visa. So what they basically do is that they come, they stay, and by the way, the 90 days is over a year period. But what they do, they stay for the 90 days, which is 3 months. When it is about to end, then they actually collect passports, and then they get this passport stamped so that their days actually get restarted. So that is the problem that we are dealing with. But like I'm saying, we are focusing on the syndicates, and the intention is to be able to deal with this problem. For the future, We are intending to deal with it through the introduction of the biometric movement control system, where every passport to be stamped, there must be a fingerprint accompanying it. The system we've been using before did not have that facility, and that is why it has been actually used for this kind of activity.
And let's go back to the Lebombo port in particular, port of entry. Is that a bigger problem area than others?
Yeah, no, like I said, it is one of the bigger, but together with Bait Bridge, together with Maseru Bridge. But remember, one of the critical reasons why in Mozambique this will be part of the challenge is because there are a lot of individuals coming from the Mozambican side who are working in South Africa, doing a number of different types of jobs. Others are in construction and others are in different types of work. So for them to be able to be legitimate, they actually use this particular scheme that actually makes them to be kind of legal in the country. And the reason why that is the case is because when they get stopped by the police, they basically just produce a passport, it shows a stamp, and on that basis, because there is no a system on the street for them to be able to do verification, they are then declaring them to be in the country legally. And that is where the problem is. But indeed, Limpopo is the problem. Out of the 34 passports that has been intercepted with this particular individual, 32 of those are for Mozambican nationals. It's only 2 that were for Angolan nationals.
Okay. What happens next? What happens next to the person who was apprehended? And then, can you then link it back and circle back to the people whose names were on those passports?
Yeah, so firstly, Ashraf, to note is that what we are now starting to be doing, we now deal with these issues as criminal issues. So basically, we use the Immigration Act and then we charge them for aiding and abetting a criminal activity. We no longer just use the basic Immigration Act and want to get them deported and all of that. So as we speak now, this particular individual has been arrested. As we speak now, the individual is within the police cells there at Komati Port. So at the end of the day, it's going to go through the court process, and there is going to be a prosecution process that is going to be taking place. So that is basically the essence. However, in terms of the individuals, for example, within our system, that would have been part of this whole process. That is a continuous activity, because in this instance, we intercepted the person before they could actually be assisted in that context. So we don't know, and we did not get to see the people that actually they are working with. But hence I'm saying it is something that we keep on doing by checking through our people, and as soon as somebody is found to be part of this, that is when then we are able to action. We've already dismissed around 5 individuals, by the way, working within our space, Ashraf, in this particular kind of activity.
Okay, let's leave it at that. You're going to be very busy, and hopefully we'll hear less of these type of stories, only because the preventative measures will be so strong that we wouldn't have to hear about actual arrests and apprehensions because and people being apprehended, because the checks and balances, especially with your biometrics that you spoke about, would be so solid they wouldn't even take a chance. Dr. Michael Masciapato, the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority, thank you for your time. Now, what about you listening in around that issue of the border management? Mozambique coming in, 30-odd passports, one person arrested with 30-odd passports. What do you make of that? And the checks and balances, I mean, that's a success story, would you think, in terms of the border management able to apprehend that person? And then you get a sense that South Africa is sort of getting on top of these issues that have prevailed for far too long. And let me make the point, there's a big difference between a foreign national entering the country legally, legitimately, versus one who's entering illegally or illegitimately. 086 000 2032. I'll take your calls as well and cover some of the big issues, particularly around Raymond Zondo that we've been discussing. One word to describe his legacy, just one word. You can fire away right now.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Get ready for a magical night filled with hope and positivity at the Night of Hope event, 25th August, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. live. Join Lotus FM Pastor Niven Lauman for a special 2-hour broadcast of the Gospel Hour live at one of Durban's most prestigious venues, the Durban Christian Center Dome. This will be a historic reach, calling the greater Durban community to come together for a night of prayer and embrace, together with SABC to present live from the venue to a greater South African audience. Tickets are free. Secure your spot by booking online through Cricket today. Don't miss out on this unforgettable, historic night for South Africa. See you there.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
All right, we're going to get to some of the calls again. Another word, one word, Judge Zondo, outstanding. And that comes from Oscar, I think it is. Outstanding. There's many people very, very complimentary with just some really good, solid words around it. Let's get to Anonymous in a checkup. No. In fact, we can get to some of the voice notes firstly. Then we'll get to some of your calls. Right, here's another.
Ashraf, hearers of the station, you see, humble. The man, when he speaks English language, he believes in a primary or a clear English language. He doesn't believe in the English of terminology. Tuse from Inanda, bye.
Okay, humble.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. My name is Elfas Ngoboye in KwaZulu-Natal. One word for the Chief Justice's reign in the Constitutional Court is fearless, because he presided over the incarceration of the former President of the Republic of South Africa, Jacob Zuma. Anyway, enjoy your afternoon, Ashraf.
Okay, one word, so humble and then fearless. Here's another.
My one word is forgetful, because he could not remember what transpired in the meeting with former President Jacob Zuma during his interview for the office of Chief Justice.
Okay, there we are. Lots of different comments. Let's get another. Let's get some of your calls. Billy in Sekukune. Hi, Billy. Go ahead. What's your point?
No, I'm just interested with this bird from NKP.
Yeah. You are laughing.
We are led by clowns. South Africa has become a circus. People who go to parliament and claim to be representing other constituencies, yet they cannot have access to their own leader. They don't have access to the chief whip. It's a circus, really.
Well, I must tell you, I mean, you basing it on that conversation I had clearly. I mean, I'm also very, very surprised. They pledge allegiance to Jacob Zuma, but they have no access to him. They have no access to anybody else. And
how did they get them the first instance?
Well,
and why are they clinching on an individual? What if Zuma dies tomorrow? Who else are they going to praise? They don't have a constitution. They must close shop.
Okay, well, there you are. You've made your point. Thank you for that, Billy. They must close shop. Patrick in the Eastern Cape, hello.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's it, Patrick? Go ahead. What's your point?
No, my point is just that one word to describe the Chief Justice is integrity.
Okay, why?
Integrity, for me, you know, there's a word that they normally not mention in saying that no fear or favor. And people are always running around this whole thing about him not perhaps addressing certain issues surrounding Jacob Zuma. He did. And one don't have to always argue about the case about Zuma and what he said or whatever. He was a man who actually just concentrated on facts on the table, not who you are, what position you are. And he was actually outspoken about it. And with integrity, there is a notion of humbleness. And he is humble.
Okay.
Listening to his background and where he's coming from. I resonate with it because I know where I'm coming from and I could actually see what this actually means, you know?
Nice call, absolutely. Integrity, and there's a thank you for that call. Let's get that's Patrick, of course. Let's get other thoughts. John Payne saying dignified, tweeting out, and you can tweet. You know that you can do both, tweet and call in. Vernon Adams saying Zondo in one word is justice. Okay, more calls. I have another caller in. Harry Smith. Hello. Yeah, go for it.
Hello.
Yeah, go for it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. What's your point?
My point is, Mr. Zondo, man of his ways. If you don't believe me, go and ask Mr. Zuma. He will tell you who's that guy. Hey, I'm very, 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 it's very shocking to hear that guy from MK party to say what he said. People are people who resign from their permanent job. All of a sudden, now they have to remove. That now it's a true color from Madala Zuma. They would see. There's still more to come. That guy, I know that Madala is gonna show them who is he.
Okay, got that.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much. There we are. Show them who is. Here's another one. From I think Adwell West saying, Ashraf, good afternoon. If I'm not mistaken, you've asked this before. The word describing the CJ audacious. Now we've used the one word campaign, but not about him. I don't think so, but certainly about somebody else. And it is a great way to get to engage you, because I notice that people respond to simple thing. Give me one word to describe whoever. So in this case, it is the Chief Justice. What about a one word to describe passports? Anonymous has the thoughts on that one. Hi, Anonymous.
Yes, Ashraf.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Only that there's a lot of people, they don't move around out of South Africa to see what is actually going on. This passport style of using a number of days to work in a country without a permit, it's not only being done by people coming out of South Africa. I know in Namibia there are South Africans working there using the same style. How does this work? A company gets a contract in Namibia or Angola, and then it leaves South Africa with its workers. When they get into Namibia, Angola, or DRC, they are specially minds. Now they don't get working permits. What they do, they give their supervisor all their passports, and then the supervisor takes the passport to the border, and then they stamp an equal number of days. So much so that when they are approached by the police or the relevant authorities, they'll merely produce the passport. Now that official that is asking for the passport, he doesn't know that you are working, because maybe he needs them after 5 o'clock. During the day, they are in offices, you don't see them. So this is something that is happening within the SADC, but because people do not move around, they don't know. They will always think that people from outside are coming to work in South Africa with permits and stuff like that.
Okay, well that's why you know. Thanks for that call, giving us that comment. By the way, we've just got news that the South African science and maths teacher William Smith, everybody knows him. I think he broadcast out of Knysna, if I'm not mistaken, doing that blockbuster TV series around learning maths, right? Well, I believe that William Smith sadly has passed away from cancer, short illness, I understand, dying at a reasonably old age of 85. He was surrounded by family members of his in Perth, in Australia. So they were, rest in peace, William Smith, passing away at the age of 85. Right, there's more comments. There's lots of people have lots of things to say. Here's an interesting one.
Afternoon, Ashraf. One word to describe Zondo from me is he was a fixer from Pofayani in Soweto. Bye.
Okay, and of course I'm going to ask you, what does a fixer mean in this case here? Got that. But there's more, right? Here's another.
Hi, good afternoon to you, Ashraf. It's Scully. My pubsisman today is the bowing out of Judge Zondo, Raymond Zondo. We're really going to miss him, really, really. And I am one of those that's really going to miss him. Okay, I'm sure the country also. Have a good afternoon.
Well, absolutely. Certainly get your pulses racing. He's part of our history. You can't ignore that. Absolutely, right? Here's another one on somebody else who gets our pulses racing often. His name is Jacob Zuma.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. This guy that you just spoke to, now, he's just afraid of Jacob Zuma. That's why he's keep on saying, no, it's not him, it's the other people. There is no other people, it's Jacob Zuma. He wants to put the people that he wants to put there. So he just think should they win the case, at least they must be able to be like in good terms with Jacob Zuma. It's Jacob Zuma. He must stop like hiding behind the bushes. It's Jacob Zuma who removes them there. Sharp, Mr. Arsa.
Well, I tell you what, sharp to you, and I will say sweet. I think you're right. I mean, like, I do find it puzzling. If you have a gripe with the party, your first point is internal structures. Get to the disciplinary committee, whoever you need to deal with grievances. As you mentioned, the chief whip is in the same office as them. I mean, like, and they just pass each other, they sit together. Like, why would you not go through all of that? And if you still can't do that, then go to the highest person of the party, go to the president, Jacob Zuma, and you're saying that he's not replying. So then there must be some way you can reach him, and you can't tell me he doesn't know that MPs, supporters of the MK party, has taken his party to court. How would he not know that? 4:30, here's the news headlines with Madupi.
Thank you, Ndate Garda, and a very good afternoon. In your headlines, more than 2,500 police trainees have been evacuated following a gas pipeline explosion near the SAPS Training Academy in Pretoria. The chairperson of Parliament's Communications Committee, Kusela Digo, says a mass meeting of all industry role players gives everyone a chance to have united goals and outcomes. And police in Pakistan have arrested a man accused of spreading false information that fueled riots in Britain. And those are your headlines. A full news update, 5 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Main Reef Road in Crown is queuing at Church Street. The M1 southbound in central Johannesburg slow moving towards Crown interchange. The N1 northbound in Midrand queuing towards New Road. Clerkop Road eastbound has delays towards Sierfontein Avenue, and Rebecca Street in Pretoria has an explosion event reported near Carl Street, so expect delays and diversions. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Camperdown has a crash after the Linfield Park exit, the N2 southbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction, and the M4 has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions at Tongaat Beach, so expect delays. In Cape Town, Alexandra Road southbound in Pinelands queuing towards Forest Drive, Voortrekker Road eastbound slow moving through Maitland. In Observatory, Main Road outbound slow moving towards the N2 highway, and Liesberg Parkway southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
We spoke about the box earlier. What about the All Blacks?
Well, New Zealand will be without the services of lock Patrick Tuipolotu and playmaker Stefan Perofeta as the All Blacks named a 36-player squad for the 2 Rugby Championship tests against the Springboks. Cough injuries will prevent the pair from travelling with the All Blacks to South Africa for the Rugby Championship clashes in Johannesburg and Cape Town. Both players missed the All Blacks 2 tests against Argentina due to their injuries and will remain in New Zealand to continue with their rehabilitation. Then in cricket, Proteas all-rounder Nadine de Klerk says that she's gunning for the Woman of the Year accolade at this year's Cricket South Africa Awards. De Klerk grouped 3 lucrative nominations: the Women's T20 International Player of the Year, the Women's One Day International Player of the Year, and the Women's Player of the Year. And she says that if she wins Player of the Year, it will definitely validate her contribution to the national team in all formats of the game.
And probably the Player of the Year. I would say it's probably the biggest award, I would think, and I guess kind of as a player you want to be a player that kind of performs in all formats of the game. So I would say it's a pretty exciting time, but probably the one the Player of the Year.
Then moving on to football, Andile Jali says that he was ready to hang up his boots before the call from Chippa United came. In an exclusive interview with the SABC Sport from the Chippa United camp in Johannesburg, Jali poured out his heart on how their treatment at the now defunct Morocco Swallows almost ended his career and passion for the game. The former Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns midfield powerhouse says that the thought of hanging up his boots at his home club in the Eastern Cape was definitely a no-brainer. Elsewhere, Raheem Sterling, on the other hand, is reportedly open to finding a new club after accepting that his Chelsea career is over. Sterling's future was thrown into doubt when he was left out of Enzo Maresca's squad against Manchester City. And now the 29-year-old has reportedly accepted his fate, having also been excluded from the squad for tomorrow's EuroLeague playoffs. And here's Maresca just explaining the whole situation around Sterling.
I spoke with Raheem before City game. I said that he's going to struggle to get minutes with us, and this is the reason why he was out of the squad. And with Chile, I said that it's a lovely guy, but he's going to struggle because his position with us is going to struggle. It's not because he's, I'm not saying that Raheem is no good player, but I prefer different kind of wingers, and this is the reason why.
So we wait to see where Raheem Sterling will end up being in terms of his new club. Then Bayern Munich goalkeeper Manuel Neuer has announced his retirement from international football with Germany. The 38-year-old player has played 124 matches for Germany, captaining his country 61 times. Neuer wrote on social media that although he's tempted to play until 2026, he's convinced that now is the right time to take the step. Then in cycling, Australia's cycling body expects the global governing UCI to enforce a 2-year non-competitive period on Matt Richardson at international events following his decision to switch alliance to Britain. Richardson, who won 3 medals for Australia at Paris, announced the switch on Monday, saying that he was excited to join the Great British Cycling Team, and under UCI rules, cyclists who switch alliance are not eligible to represent the new national team at the following edition of the World and Continental Championships. And finally, in motorsports, MotoGP's next 2 season will begin with the Thai Grand Prix at the Chang International Circuit, and the Thai Grand Prix began in 2018 and has always been held in October. It will kick off the 2025 season on the 2nd of March. In the past 2 decades, Qatar has usually hosted the MotoGP season opener. With that said, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Okay. Well, I want to... you were talking about the different sports. It's amazing how some sports gain prominence, and we touched on it yesterday, I think it was, that during the Olympic Games and in others, and some of those Olympic sports, we hardly follow it outside. Like swimming is one of them.
Absolutely.
Agree?
Yeah, we definitely follow swimming a lot when it comes to
and then
the
outside?
Olympics. Outside, not that much.
I'm also guilty.
Yeah, not that much. However, I guess it's part of the big 3 where everyone keeps following football, rugby or cricket. And for you, paddle, I saw just actually 3 weeks ago, a paddle league was launched. The Gill 360 Paddle League.
Yeah, there's been a few like that.
Yeah.
There's been quite a bit. I mean, which sport would you want to see in the Olympic Games?
In the Olympic Games,
Yeah.
netball.
Yeah, that's the one that you'd like to have. Yeah.
Netball.
Okay.
I don't understand why netball is not part of
Can't
the
play
Olympics.
netball. I play paddle. Not that great, but maybe I think there's scope for that. Right, more sport from to me, netball and everything else in an hour.
18 teams are back on the hunting ground. No one wants a loss or a draw. They are all searching for maximum points in every encounter. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Do not miss out on the 2024-2025 Bundesliga season. Catch the action live on Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, so we're going to get another take on Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in just a moment, but let's get to the markets first up, right? We'll do that in just a second or two. Let me just remind you as well, as you wish to call in any time, even on the issue of Will Smith. I mean, maybe you've learned so much from him. I'm sure you have, right? Okay, to the markets we go with Paswane Impatlele, Senior Account Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Good chatting to you as always. Let's talk local and global, but firstly we talk Curo, right?
Yeah, Curo, the guys reported on their half-year earnings, and the guys did so well. Hey, strong financial performance, positive outlook. The group recorded a profit earning up 16% in the first year, and just indicating that they offer value despite economic challenges. We see their revenue was up 8%, despite a small increase in the average learners of 0.5. They benefited from the increase in school fees by 6.8%, significant increase in the auxiliary revenue up 17%. This includes the likes of extramural activities, reflecting how the management team is trying to diverse their revenue stream and looking forward and how to deal with their future demand. They're going to continuously investing. They say they expect to invest up to 700 million by year end to maintain, replace, expand their facilities, especially in the high school institution. They currently have opened up three new campuses in Namibia and Johannesburg, and the investors in overall are happy about the performance. The stock was up on the news, and when you come into the market, Ashraf, we are looking at volatility that is still compressed. We see the likes of US non-farm payrolls that have been revised by close to 800,000 jobs lower. The markets are continuing that upward momentum trading, especially in the local stocks. Here we see positive momentum, and this follows especially the economic news that indicated that our inflation rate is at a 3-year low of 4.6%, edging closer to that South African Reserve Bank's midterm target of 4.5, thanks to lower food costs, transportation costs, housing, utility costs, and it's generally have increased the rate of cuts that can take place at the beginning or in the September meeting, and this will obviously improve business and consumer confidence and spending. Looking ahead, investors will remain a bit cautious as they wait out those Fed minutes that are going to come out to give clarity on rate cuts. The rand standing very bullish as they wait it out. We're looking at the US equity general performance, where the US opened up mixed, with the S&P and Nasdaq up 0.3 and 5 respectively. Europe also mixed, but DAX and CAC up 0.3. Locally, JSE's up 0.3, keeping up that positive trend, thanks to the likes of industrials up 0.5 and financials up 0.3. The gold trade it's down 0.4, but it's still trading above that 2,500 level at $2,502 an ounce, continuing its bullish pull. Oil remains bearish, and I think it's not necessarily at the back of those Middle East issues, but the fact that when you look at the G20 countries, a lot of them are indicating a slowdown in their performance, and then when you include even the likes of China in play, that's just a lot. Oil is down, it's just like up 0.4 into the trade, but still bearish at $77.50 a barrel. Generally, looking at the red, it keeps its bullish stance, although the dollar remains a short consensus right now. It has weakened at 0.6 at 17.93 against the dollar, 19.93 against the euro, and 23.40 against the pound.
Okay, that's it. Appreciate your time. We'll do it again tomorrow, Paswane, and we have another market update coming up in an hour's time. Let's get on to, again, one of the biggest issues that we've been talking about all throughout the day, the legacy of the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and I have been asking you one word for you that best describes his legacy. Just one word, because it just helps us understand your focus on just that one word. You can WhatsApp us right away in text form, 0614 104 107. Also, you can send a voice note too. By the way, talking about WhatsApp, you can also, if you wish to get onto our new channel called The National Pulse, where we give you alerts of all the things that we do, just WhatsApp us and say, add me to channel. But you can call in to 086 000 2032. Always good to hear from you, because you play a huge role in driving whatever it is the National Pulse. Okay, let's get talking about the legacy of Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Imbekazeli Benjamin with me. We've chatted to him often. He's from the Judges Matter Research and Advocacy Officer. Good chatting to you as always. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. It's good to be back.
Thank you. So you've got this big responsibility of reflecting on on the legacy of the Chief Justice. Let's maybe start with what I've asked everybody else. One word for you that best describes his legacy.
Well, I would describe him as a patriot, someone who's really deeply committed to South Africa and seeing the best for our country. So patriot is probably his easiest description.
Okay, got that, patriot, and something that would warm up to many, many people. Having said that, you know that his legacy is also a contested legacy. For some people, he is this patriot who's just great for the country. Others are like, hold it, he's someone who has driven a wedge between political leadership for his own experience or for the people that he represents. And I say that in inverted commas, as you can understand. How do you navigate around that?
Well, I think for someone who's done so much, it is not surprising that his legacy is contested. There are people who will obviously love him. There are others who will disagree with him, and some might even say they hate him. And that's natural for someone who's dedicated so much of their lives to public service and to public life. He has been a judge for more than 27 years, and I'm sure there are many people who would be upset that he ruled against them, and so they wouldn't really heap a lot of praise on him, because if you had a disappointing outcome, you obviously wouldn't be too happy with the judge. So that, I think, comes with the territory. But in the last couple of years, and particularly in his role as the chairperson of the State Capture Commission, he's had to deal with a very difficult task. In the decade in which state capture happened in this country, a lot of us didn't really know the scale and the breadth of state capture and corruption and the players who were involved. And the work that he did on the commission was to identify those players and people who worked to undermine our state institutions and actually looted our state-owned companies. And so it's not surprising, again, that those people would not be too happy that a report would find them that they were implicated in such activities. So it comes with the territory. But I think for the vast majority of South Africans, they would remember him as a judge of the Labour Court who worked to protect workers' rights. They'll remember him as someone who stood up to do a difficult task as chairperson of the State Capture Commission, and in the last 2 years as Chief Justice, where he has led the judiciary sometimes in very turbulent times.
Mm-hmm. I suppose, we have many people listening, and they would base their opinions on what they know and what they see in the conversations we have here on the National Pulse, but many others would, like yourself, would judge his legacy very much on the narrow legal angles that would stand up to the highest officers of the land, right? How does he measure up in that, in terms of the type of judgments and the rulings he's made over the years?
Well, I think Justice Zondo is one of our strongest legal minds. He has 3 master's degrees in law, and during his period as a judge, he's written quite extensively, particularly on labor law. He has tried to protect workers' rights in the labor domain, and he's written the majority of his judgments in that area. And even this morning's judgment, his final judgment as a judge, was a labor law judgment where he ruled in favor of an officer in the defense force who was treated quite badly by the SANDF. So that is one of his legacies, in that he shaped labor law. Of course, there are some criticisms. Some labor law academics might have criticisms in 1 or 2 areas, but overall, it's had a positive contribution as a judge.
Have you had the privilege of engaging him, formally and informally?
Not so much informally, but yes, in informal settings, I've had the pleasure of engaging him. And in fact, when he first started in 2021, in October 2021, was his first JSC, which I attended. We didn't get off on the best of starts, and over the years, we've been quite critical in some areas, and so I'm sure it didn't really please him, but he's always been very respectful. Even at Judiciary Day a couple of weeks ago, we greeted each other. He's very pleasant. He's a very humble man. We laugh
and I sometimes tease him on certain things. So he's really, really a humble man, very friendly. But of course, we respect each other's roles, and he gives us the respect that we need as civil society to be effective.
And that's why you can agree and often disagree and still say he's a patriot. I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it? Thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. There we are. Mbekazeli Benjamin from the Judges Matter Research and Advocacy Officer, calling Chief Justice Raymond Zondo as a patriot. You want to add to that and maybe just comment on the conversation? By the way, you know we podcast just about all the big interviews that we do. Go to safm.coza to catch it. Also, if you're listening to us, besides just being on the radio, you can listen on streaming live and download the SABC Plus app. Crystal clear quality wherever you are around the world. And if you are listening to us from somewhere around the world, what about you WhatsApping us right away? 0614 104 107. I want to know.
Borussia Dortmund understands the delight that comes with triumphing the opening clash of the league race. But Eintracht Frankfurt are not about dropping points this early. They want to complete their visit to Signal Iduna Park with 3 incredible points. This is the Bundesliga. Football as it's meant to be. Catch the hot contest between Borussia Dortmund and Eintracht Frankfurt on Saturday, 24 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on sabcsport.com. #We love it here. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Right, tune in to catch the rebirth of Mubango's new season on SABC2. You certainly follow that, don't you? Every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. and experience the drama and excitement with new intriguing characters. And these characters, you're probably going to get very used to them soon. Dr. Intantla Timba, played by Leleti Kumalo, and of course your usual favorites as Windy, Rendani, Tiboho, and of course Josi. It's a renaissance of new beginnings, love, secrets, and betrayal. Remember that? Every Monday to Friday, 9 p.m. on SABC2.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
We've also had comment on the conversation I had with the MK party member.
Ashraf, good afternoon. They did the very same thing to Jabulani Kumalo, these MK people. They wrote letters, said Jabulani resigned. Now it's their turn, and they cry foul play now, when eventually they have a taste of their own medicine. Zuma is going to have them resign one by one without their knowledge whenever he needs a certain target to be met.
Okay, we shall see. By the way, we spoke earlier on about the news of the passing away of the decorated, certainly a champion maths teacher, William Smith, right, or Will Smith, with these pictures from Neisner, as he always did broadcasting. Died at the age of 85. If you want to comment on his legacy, I could say again, one word, Will Smith, legacy. Tell me what it is. You can WhatsApp us right away or call him too, right? Now, it's been Women's Month. It's, still a few days to go, isn't it? Let's stay linked to that with the South African Women in Science Awards, which was announced at the Nelson Mandela. Well, it's announced named the Nelson Mandela University's Professor Zukiswa Zingela as its 2024 Distinguished Women Researcher in this glittering award ceremony that took place in Mpumalanga on Thursday, the 15th of August. Now, the Executive Dean of the Health Sciences at the University in Gqeberha was one of 14 national finalists at the Sawisa Awards ceremony in White River. So we thought, let's talk about it, and we certainly like to speak to winners or winning every single day. So in this case, it's my guest, Professor Zukiswa Zingela, Executive Dean of Health Sciences at the Nelson Mandela University, and now a winner as well. I appreciate your time. Hi.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to yourself and the listeners out there.
So congratulations in order, right?
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. It was quite an evening.
Yeah, tell me about, well, maybe tell me about this quite an evening that you speak about.
Well, all institutions who are interested will identify researchers within their different fields and will then submit the profiles of these researchers to the Department of Science and Innovation. And then a panel of judges will go through all of the submissions and then decide which of the submissions are deserving of an award. And the award is then in recognition of, the research field that the person is working in. But importantly, it also looks at the contribution and difference to society that the person's work can possibly make.
So tell me about yourself. I mean, being acknowledged, and I understand there are 14 other finalists, or one of 14. What were you acknowledged for? I mean, maybe share your work and what was said about you.
Yes. So first of all, let's start with the fact that all 14 were really deserving, and the different finalists were at different stages of their research career and development. So you had young women who had just started on their research. You also had intermediate and established researchers. And then the special category where I got recognized was as the distinguished researcher in the group. Obviously somebody who's already established, but who's made inroads into different areas. And it was wonderful to see the different categories that the young women out there are involved in. It included agriculture, it included, town planning, astronomy, and of course the medical and neurosciences. My background is I am a medical doctor. I'm a psychiatrist and mental health professional. And I come with a background of a lot of research in mental health, which was then supplemented with research in specific projects that had a community engagement element, meaning the research was happening as we were going out there providing needed services to the different communities out there. It included a project that I partnered or collaborated with the House of Traditional Leaders with in the Eastern Cape, focused on botched circumcisions and their mental health and how to best help them.
Well, wonderful on your recognition and the others too. Let's then talk about, overall the state of maybe South African sciences and science research, male and female, when pitched against the rest of the world, and then about state of women in particular.
Starting off with research in South Africa, I must say we do have leaders in the field depending which field you look at. I'm not an astronomer, but I do know that with the SKA project and a lot of our young and more established researchers out there, we're leading in the field, or one of the leading countries. We also have a lot of very well established researchers in neuroscience, male or female, and of course when it comes to medicine across the different disciplines, we definitely have leading researchers out there. I'm in the field of mental health and psychiatry, which of course includes psychology as well. So I hold a PhD in psychology, but I hold a postgraduate qualification in psychiatry. And combining those then to look at health needs and providing interventions based on those health needs is what I do. And as much as I'm now an executive dean of a faculty of health sciences, but my background remains that. So,
well, I think you've positioned yourself very well to be able to impact society on multiple levels, right? I also understand maybe this probably be linked to your psychiatry or psychology excellence. The issues of stress management. I mean, it's a big issue in the country, in the world right now. What can you tell us about that?
huge issue, and one of the projects that I was actually recognized for is intervention that I developed during COVID, which was to support healthcare workers at work so that they don't have to take off work in order to take care of their stress. And it was useful at the time because we needed, as healthcare workers, to be present at work so that we could treat people who were presenting with COVID. And the big difference that made is that it then enabled a lot of our healthcare workers who accessed the intervention to be able to continue working despite the stress that they were facing. And of course, it then had a contributory element to ensuring resilience. So stress, as as an effect of life challenges, is something quite normal, and it only becomes abnormal when it overwhelms us. And the intervention then that I developed was to ensure that even as we experience the stress, we don't feel so overwhelmed that we cannot cope with what we have to do on a daily basis.
And maybe we should have that conversation as well. When you are overwhelmed, how then do you respond? But don't answer that now. Maybe we need to do that some other time. Much appreciate your time and love chatting to you as winners. We reflect on some of the big winners in South African society, particularly in the field of sciences, right? So Professor Zukizwa Zingela, thank you so much for your time. The Executive Dean of Health Sciences at the Nelson Mandela University. It's 5 o'clock, which means it's time, as always, for Greg Host to take over the hot seat of the news.
Thank you, Ashraf. Police trainees evacuated after Pretoria blast and 3 people gunned down on Limpopo farm. Good day to you. More than 2,500 police trainees have been evacuated following a gas pipeline explosion near the Police Service Training Academy in Pretoria. Metro Police and emergency services are currently on scene to contain the blaze. The cause of the fire is not known at this stage. Police spokesperson Atlende Mate.
The decision to evacuate the trainees, SAPS trainers and members from various specialized units, including the NAT joints, was taken following advice and consultation from experts. It should be noted that the training academy is not affected and that the evacuation process is a precautionary measure by management of the SAPS.
William Smith, known as South Africa's favourite maths and science teacher, passed away after a long battle with cancer. He died at his home in Perth in Australia, surrounded by family. He was 85 years old. The Hawks Serious Commercial Crime Investigation Team has arrested 2 suspects in Soweto for alleged fraud. In 2021, the duo allegedly submitted a falsified application for funding with the National Lottery Commission, pretending to be committee members of a non-profit organisation. The suspects then defrauded the commission of over R500,000. Hawk spokesperson Mtandazo Mnisi.
Upon receipt of fraudulent application for funding, the application was taken through the NLC's process, after which the funding of an amount of 885,000 Rand was approved. Lottery Commission paid an amount of 500,000 Rand to the account of Khatelopili Foundation. An amount of 380,000 Rand was due to be paid after receipt of progress report on the project, which were in terms of the fund application planned for the community of Bloemfontein in the Northern Cape.
The chairperson of Parliament's Communication and Digital Technologies Committee, Kusela Diko, says a mass meeting of all industry role players gives everyone a chance to have united goals and outcomes. She was speaking on the sidelines of an induction program for MPs. During the program, the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, regulators and state-owned entities like the SABC share their mandates and challenges. Diko says the discussions have been fruitful.
How we're going to lower the cost of data, how we're going to ensure that data sovereignty in this country, how we're going to ensure that the regulatory environment is enabling for investment attraction. So ongoing discussions. Later on we'll be speaking to some of the state-owned enterprises, the SABC, the Post Office, the State Information and Technology Agency, and they're looking at governance issues. It is in our interest that we have a functional, stable, sustainable SABC and Post Office, so we'll be delving into those issues as well.
2 women have been shot and killed and a man wounded on a farm outside Polokwane in Limpopo. The wounded man, who's believed to be a foreign national, has been admitted to hospital. The shooting incident happened at a dump site used by a dairy company. Police spokesperson Melisela Litwap.
Further investigation revealed that both women sustained gunshot wounds and they were with a 47-year-old foreign national man when they visited the farm, who was also shot and is currently hospitalized. The motive for the incident is unknown at this stage. The Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Thembi Hadebe, has instructed the investigating team to apprehend the suspects involved in this heinous crime.
Police in Pakistan have arrested a man accused of spreading false information that fueled riots in Britain. The man allegedly gave bogus facts about a person who stabbed 3 children to death in the UK last month. The BBC's Caroline Davies has more.
According to Pakistan police officials, Farhan Asif has had a case filed against him of cyber terrorism. Details of the case state that the police were able to connect the X, formerly known as Twitter, account for Channel 3 Now to his laptop and phone. The BBC was able to speak to an officer at the police department in Lahore yesterday who told us that during questioning, Mr. Asif had said that he had written the article in question based on information copied from a UK social media account without verifying it. He later took the article down and issued an apology, claiming that those responsible for the article had been fired.
Top stories that more than 2,500 police trainees have been evacuated following a gas pipeline explosion near the Police Service Training Academy in Pretoria. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Close.
And coming up in your sports this hour, Mailula reunites with Rulani Mukwena at Weighted Athletic, and Women's T20 World Cup moved to the UAE from strife-torn Bangladesh. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Germiston has a stationary truck reported after the Edenvale Road exit. The N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a stationary truck near Van Buren Road. The M1 southbound queuing through Crown Interchange towards Boysons, and Flower Street westbound in Pretoria has a crash reported at Eskom Patleli Drive. In KZN, the M4 northbound slow moving towards Broadway Durban North exit. The N2 southbound slow moving towards Spaghetti Junction, and on the N2, roadworks reported with traffic restrictions between the M41 Gateway and the M25 Komasha Highway exit. In Cape Town, the M2 outbound is slow moving towards the R300 Highway, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, the M5 southbound is queuing towards Racecourse Road, the N7 Jakes Harold Drive southbound slow moving at Voortrekker Road, and the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavango Road exit. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Feel Good Fridays just got even better with a brand new Expresso newsletter, The Feel Good Fix. Delivered to your inbox every Friday, it is your weekly dose of joy, entertainment and local flair. Subscribe now at expressoshow.com and never miss a moment.
From heartwarming stories to tasty recipes, it's all there waiting for you. And remember to tune in to the Expresso Morning Show weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on S3, and let's start your day right and channel your inner feel good.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Coming up to 5:08, which means we're into the third hour of the National Pulse. And a question to you as always, what for you today, right now, moves the National Pulse? What moves the needle? What gets your pulses racing? What is it that you really want to get off your chest? The only way I'll know is if you connect with me. You can WhatsApp, text or voice note 0614 104 107. And if you get a chance to call in, that's cool too, 086 000 2032. But you can call, you can also post on social media. Love to see it. So here's an interesting one from Sharon in Bordeaux saying, William Smith, because we are talking about William Smith who passed on, right? The maths genius. He said, Sharon says, William Smith became my main teacher and the word is main, okay? When Bushbuck Ridge was going through border disputes, resulting on 3 months of no school, I managed to make it through most of the syllabus alone and sat for my matric with his help and the rest of the team on the Learning Channel. May his beautiful soul rest in peace. Sharon in Bordeaux. So you see, there you are. Will Smith was able to, through his Learning Channel, teach you anyway, and you don't have to be in class, and you could be sitting in your lounge chair, and somehow it worked. And only now we come with online and virtual learning like 20 years later. So there you are. He was the revolutionary, and it clearly worked. Okay, let's get on to the conversation we've been having for the better part of the afternoon around Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. Firstly, your one word, continue with that, your one word to describe him, and someone saying ethical, simple one, Chief Justice Zondo, ethical, one word to describe him, I'd like to know. But we thought, let's reflect on what happened last night. You know, there was this big dinner that took place in Johannesburg last night, and that relates to the fact that he retires at the end of August, a career of 27 years in the judiciary in some form or the other, and the last few years as the Chief Justice. Well, amongst the clips that we want to play, right, is these, starting with the former Chief Justice, Mogoeng, who spoke about their journey in university, and it's an interesting one.
Ray Zondo and the former Deputy Judge President Madondo. The three of us were the poorest at the university, and you would think that we were either the Botswanas or the Zulus, because we didn't see tribe, we didn't see race, we didn't see ethnicity, we saw human beings. And apart from our abject poverty, we were the poorest of the poor, the three of us. When you saw us moving about on campus, you would know there goes poverty. But there is something that explains how Mlungisi Zondo got to be Chief Justice that was manifest even as early as Cause 1. Ray was hungry to make it in life. Madondo was just as hungry, and so did I. And what brought us together was, guys, we're not here to play. We see ourselves as difference makers in the future. I said, I'm going to be senior counsel. Ray said, I'm going to be the most senior attorney in life. So whenever there was an exam, he knew, I knew, that once the scripts had been marked, you must come and account. So you would go to the other and say, how much did you get? Confident that you are the best performing. And maybe you got 70%. Either Ray or Madondo would say, I only got 80%.
But that point that he made about being the highest attorney in the land, in fact, both of them, right, talking of Justice Zondo and former Chief Justice as well, Mogoeng, saying the same thing, and they landed up being the highest attorneys in the land, right? Okay, here's another with now the Chief Justice designate Mandisa Maya conveying her gratitude, well, to the entire judicial community.
It fills one with great pride to say that under the guidance of visionary leaders at its helm, one of them none other than Chief Justice Zondo is 5th Chief Justice, the court has produced many groundbreaking decisions that have advanced social justice, equality and human rights for the betterment of the lives of the people of South Africa. And Justice Zondo, Chief Justice Zondo, now retires, leaving behind a legacy of excellence and joining the distinguished ranks of his predecessors who have molded the court's jurisprudence that is lauded the world over. Chief Justice, as we kickstart the celebrations of this significant milestone that you have achieved, that will stretch into tomorrow, as Justice Mhlanhla has already indicated, let me take this opportunity to convey the shared gratitude of the entire judicial community for the dedication and distinction with which you served as a lawyer a judge and a leader of the judiciary over the past 3 decades, the sterling example that you have set for all of us will continue to inspire us and shape the jurisprudence and the development of the law of our country well into the future.
Okay, there we are. Gratitude, and imminently Chief Justice designate will be the Chief Justice as we know it. Now, the Justice Minister Thembi Simelane talks about the work reflecting on the Zondo Commission.
The work of what is now known as the Zondo Commission remains the integral part of our efforts to rebuild our country in the wake of one of the most shameful periods in our democratic history. I'm sure it will be of importance to you. Of course, that's not part of the President's speech. But to say we have gazetted the ID formally at the NPA, which main mandate task, amongst others, is to deal with cases that are emanating from the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission was an affirmation of our constitutional order, the rule of law, and the strength of our institution. The Commission did more than reveal in painstaking details the extent and the nature of state capture.
And you know, the story often happens in adversity. What emerges is heroes, champions, best in class, the champions great causes. So there you are, another reflection on Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. So now, what about himself? Well, he delivered his last Concord judgment today, right? And then he commented on some of the things that were said yesterday by the former Chief Justice.
Over my 27 years on the bench, there is no president of this country who served at least a full term who did not appoint me to some or other position. All of them, without exception, who served at least one term, appointed me. President Mandela appointed me as a judge of the Labour Court and also appointed me as a judge of what used to be called the Transvaal Provincial Division of the High Court. President Mbeki appointed me as Judge President of the Labour Appeal Court and Labour Court. President Zuma appointed me as a Justice of the Constitutional Court and subsequently as Deputy Chief Justice. I don't know how happy he is about that. And President Ramaphosa appointed me as Chief Justice. President Zuma also appointed me as chairperson of the State Capture Commission.
Right, in fact, he was referring at that time to the years and the different presidents he served under his tenure. Then going back to that earlier comment, he reflected on the comments made by the former Chief Justice Mogoeng. That was last night.
Because I know that the Chief Justice I succeeded came from just as humble beginnings. Chief Justice Mogoeng. He told those who were at the dinner last night how poor he, Justice Madondo, and I were at University of Zululand in the early 80s. He said, you could just see us. Anyone who saw us could just see that these are very poor. He used to use a different term in the past, namely that poverty was written on our foreheads. he used to wear overalls for most of the time. And that was really not because he liked overalls, but that was part of the poverty. That's what I think he got from his father. He too rose from those humble beginnings to be Chief Justice of this country.
Okay, so all that's reflecting on the outgoing Chief Justice Raymond Zondo from different voices, and hopefully that gives you a good snapshot of what happened last night and sometime today as well. As always, you can add to that conversation, because we obviously cover the conversations that move you, and we know they do, by connecting with us 086 000 2032.
Big ups to all the women of Africa Donga. Incredible characters in various fields. When you set your mind onto something, your winning mentality is difficult to defeat. On and off the field. Your excellence in the world of sport speaks volumes. You are the great inspiration to the nation. Happy Women's Month, courtesy of SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We can do this. It's been a long time coming. This deserves to grow. It's a great business. If they don't like it, someone else will. And fund me so I can expand. Maybe I can offer them shares. I need to retain equity for staff. It's going to be good for recruitment. Yeah.
Possible begins with that one great idea. When Telkom enables entrepreneurs to make their ingenuity a reality, we grow local economies. Telkom. Possible begins here.
SAFM is celebrating its 88th birthday, and what better way to celebrate than with you, our loyal listener. We will be giving away 8,800 to 10 lucky listeners during the month of August. To stand a chance of winning, stay tuned to SAFM and SMS the keyword SAFM88 followed by your name to 41391 and listen to the station throughout the day, where you could be selected as a winner. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
All right, so let's say you need to make a note of this, because it really will impact on your watching habits, right? Tune in to catch the rebirth of Mubango's new season on SABC2 every Monday to Friday. So that's every day of the week at 9 p.m. and experience the drama and excitement with new intriguing characters, and these characters, will get used to them. Dr. Nonhlanhla Ximba, played by Leleti Khumalo, and the usual favourites, of course, as Windy, Rendani, Teboho, and, of course, Jose. It's a renaissance of new beginnings, love, secrets, and betrayal. Remember, that's every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
By the way, you want to comment on Will Smith besides Raymond Zondo? Feel free to do that. Many people in the sea, even on other WhatsApp groups, talking about this incredible legacy he left by being like the best teacher you can get via his television show. It's interesting how that was probably an example of just the power of media, which just makes the classroom much bigger, right? So yeah, Will Smith, son of Professor J.L.B. Smith, author of The Fishes of South Africa, and he scientifically described the first and second coelacanth discovered. Okay, now I know that. So to the manner born, I would think. Further thoughts, you can call in now. Moses in Bramley. Hi, Moses.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon. Good talking to you, Moses. Right, go ahead. What's your point?
Yeah, Ashraf, with the borders.
Yeah.
I think interviewing guys like Mike Shiapata, it's just a waste of time, because they are just used just to give us a pep talk. But what is happening now, Ashraf, as we speak, people are still collecting bribes just to let, even with this border management guard, I don't believe in those things, Ashraf.
So why do you think it's a waste of time talking to the person we spoke to earlier on? I mean, like, why?
Because they are not on their jobs, these people. People are still bribing coming into this country. Even if they said we've got border management and stuff like that, it's just coming and talk to us. But these guys are still collecting bribes in a way that will never solve anything in this country, unless otherwise maybe someday. Because those who are eaters, who've been eating, they are still in their post, and they cannot stop eating unless maybe someday we've got a credible government that will see to it that these things comes to an end.
Well, I think some efforts are being made. Can you concede something's happening? They're talking about biometrics as well, which means they check your fingerprints and all that sort of thing.
Yes, I do believe that a bit of something is happening. But until someday we see that those who have been collaborators, those who have been eating, those who never served this country, who don't love this country. Because if you are collecting bribes, you don't love your country. You are not patriotic enough to be where you are at those posts. Ashraf, with MK, these are gimmicks where Zuma, those who are leaving EFF saying they are going to experience the same thing, because last week we understand Zuma expelled 18 MPs and he's replacing them with his enablers, the collaborators during the state of capture. Those who were eating with him, the Bernard Gama, the Brian Mulife, even some of the crooked people are on that party. People who
some may be seen as crooked and maybe others not, but I get your point. Okay, can we leave it at that? I think you've added value to the conversation, which is great, and I'd leave it to others to wish to comment if they wish to comment on the back of that. Thanks for that call, Moses in Bramley. I think it's Maine. Which one it is? You better help me. Mafi King, hello.
Hello, my good man. How are you?
How do I pronounce your name?
Hello, how are you, good man?
Yeah, good. I'm good indeed. How do I pronounce your name? Is it Maine or Maine?
No. Yeah, Maine, yeah.
Okay. I thought you were the main man. That's why I'm asking. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to speak about this. There is a lot of corruption happening at the borders. I do know. Police are corrupt and soldiers are corrupt also. This is not the first time I've called SAFM, because we know what's happening at the border. Just that our ministers are not listening to us. Like, for instance, let me make an example. We catch people with cigarettes, then we catch everything. We arrest them, then we take them to the police station. After 2 days, when you go there for a case number, it's a miracle. They're not even there. We are told that, no, we cannot go and look for them. So we are tired of this thing. So we know what's happening on the ground. If only our ministers, they can come to they're on cloud nine.
I agree. Something has to change, not just with immigration and border management and home affairs. I completely agree with you. Something has to change. We can't carry on the way it's been going on at the moment. Maina, thanks for that call. Noted. All right. Thank you. Right, to Durban we go. And Sia, hi.
Hi, good afternoon, Ashraf.
Good afternoon indeed.
Talking about a solution that will really help us. Because, how long have we been talking about these border management issues and mismanagement? The officials doing a mess there. And we're going to be talking like this 10 years later. A simple solution. If you look at the USA, all their law enforcement officers, they wear body cameras. Okay? They wear body cameras. Anyone who's interacting with the community, they have to wear body cameras. So all the border management officers, that is including our SAPS officers, traffic officers, all of them, they must wear the body cameras, because obviously the conscience is no longer there in the hearts of people. They can no longer, the integrity and work ethics are no longer there. So we have to micromanage them. So someone has to be responsible. If the camera did not pick up and there's a problem, someone has to be held accountable. We can be able to follow up, and those footages must be made public when we need to check what happened. That is the only way we can sort this mess. Cameras must be worn by all the officers. That's what we must insist for.
All right.
I
think you got a point. If they wear these body cameras, yeah, I agree. That would make that must make a big difference. I Concur with you. Good point indeed. Okay. Right. Let's get some other thoughts. And there's lots of people wanting to comment now about the border issues.
This man is misleading you. He's misleading you, Mr. Garda. The one who works for border patrol or whatever. He's misleading the people. I'm telling you. How many foreigners do we have in South Africa right now? Undocumented. How many? Millions. And they continue to make money, those people. They are the ones who sold the country out. They continue to make money by the border.
All right, and there's more. Border.
Hi, Ashraf. This is Nico. I'm currently in Joburg. I used to work in Messina. That's standard. What happens is majority of these foreigners, because their passport expires, they need to get them stamped. So they pay, I think, about 300 rand, 250 per passport. Then they get somebody to go to the border post and stamp it for them. It's standard. It happens every day in Messina. A lot of the guys that I knew that side, they used to do that.
Okay, and there's another on the.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. It's Alan in Limpopo here. Alan Murepi in Limpopo speaking here. Look, this thing of dealing with the borders while we're sitting with the huge problem of illegal foreigners in the country. They just playing with us. They must root out the problem that we are sitting in before they can go and close there. Okay, God, thank you. Thank you.
Very well. I mean, I think many people just very, very disgruntled with the issues around the border controls. So I don't have to say much more. I hear you, and I think certainly government should hear you as well and do something about it. By the way, my production team, Keys, was making a point about reaching out to the Western Cape Department of Education spokesperson, Bronak Hammond. Remember we spoke to Bronak earlier on the issue of the Pineland School. Remember that slave trade issue they did, the auction? Well, she says the disciplinary process is ongoing. We are waiting the outcome. What we don't know is how long will it take? If anybody else knows, then I want to know how long. How long do we wait? Let's get the news headlines now. It's 5:30. Here's Greg House.
Quick look at the headlines. Nurses acknowledged a ruling by the High Court in Pretoria which dismisses a leave to appeal application filed by the Energy Regulator and the SA Local Government Association. The Gauteng Education Department says they're working on supplying mobile classrooms to the Lansiervale Secondary School in Alderwilder Park after a fire. And William Smith, known as South Africa's favourite maths and science teacher, passed away after a long battle with cancer. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Edenvale has a crash reported near Linksfield Road. Ballycare Drive in Bryanston has a crash near Bramspruit River. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road. In Pretoria, Rebecca Street has an explosion event reported between Charlotte Maclake Street and Carl Street. The road has been closed off. Flower Street westbound has a crash at SK Mpahleli Drive, and SK Mpahleli Drive northbound has delays towards Mood Street. In KZN, the N2 southbound slow moving towards Spaghetti Junction. The N3 westbound has a stationary vehicle reported after Pavilion Shopping Centre exit. The M13 eastbound in Kloof is queuing towards Maytime stores. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a stationary vehicle after Marine Drive. The N7 Jakes Harville Drive southbound is slow moving at Voortrekker Road. Viking Way eastbound in Epping is slow moving towards the N7 highway. And Jan Smuts Drive southbound in Athlone is slow moving towards Klipfontein Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Either football or Will Smith, which one do you want to choose?
Let me start with football for now. I'll talk about Will Smith later on. Yeah. Well, Toronto FC have loaned winger Cassius Mailula to Moroccan top flight side Wydad Athletic until July 2025 with an option for him to be purchased. The 23-year-old South African international joined Toronto last year from Mamelodi Sundowns in his home country, arriving via the league's under-22 initiative. Mailula has had 8 appearances with Toronto across all competitions, and with him moving to Wydad, it means he'll be reunited with Rulani Mokoena. Then Kaizer Chiefs have announced the signing of Angolan defender Inacio Miguel from Petro de Luanda. Miguel touched down in South Africa yesterday and comes into the club with the hopes of helping the defensive woes that Amakosi has because of injuries. Dylan Solomons, Edmilson and new signing Sam are currently on the sidelines nursing their injuries, which have left a void at the back. In the last season, the 28-year-old participated in 23 games across all competitions for Petro. He also contributed 3 goals in the process. Chiefs start their league campaign against Marumo Gallants on the 14th of September at the Toyota Stadium in Bloemfontein at 5:30. Meanwhile, Banyana defender Noko Matlo has returned to Spain and signed a 1-year deal. The 38-year-old arrived in Spain this morning and will have her first training session tonight and her first game on the 8th of September. She is the second most capped Banyana player with 173 caps, and she is going to play for CP Cesereno. Then in cricket, the Women's T20 World Cup scheduled for October has been moved to the United Arab Emirates from Bangladesh, which has been rocked by political turmoil and violence in recent weeks. Bangladesh will still act as a host nation, but all matches will be played in the UAE. And according to the ICC, they say that a number of participating countries had issued travel advisories for Bangladesh, effectively preventing the country from hosting the tournament. The tournament is scheduled to start from the 3rd to the 20th of October, and it's going to be the 9th edition of the Global Championship with 10 countries involved. Meanwhile, Proteas all-rounder Nadine de Klerk says that she's gunning for the Woman of the Year accolade at this year's Cricket South Africa Awards. De Klerk scooped 3 lucrative nominations: the Women's T20 International Player of the Year, the Women's One Day International Player of the Year, and the Women's Player of the Year. And she says that if she wins Player of the Year, it will validate her contribution to the national team in all formats of the game.
And probably the Player of the Year. I would say it's probably the biggest award, I would think, and I guess kind of as a player you want to be a player that kind of performs in all formats of the game. So I would say it's a pretty exciting time, but probably the Player of the Year.
Then moving on to motorsport, Max Verstappen has won every Dutch Grand Prix from pole position since his home race returned to the Formula One calendar in 2021. But he faces a tough test this weekend. Zandvoort has become a seaside party for Verstappen's side, but this time the 26-year-old is on his longest losing streak in 4 years. Mercedes have won 3 of their last 4 races, and Verstappen, who leads by 78 points with 10 rounds remaining, has not stood on top of the podium since Spain on the 23rd of June. And on Sunday, it will be Verstappen's 200th start in Formula One, making him the youngest driver to reach that milestone and the only F1 winner at Zandvoort in his own lifetime. Wants to make it even more memorable, and it'll be interesting to see how he's going to perform this weekend. From sport to William Smith.
Yes, tell me about William Smith.
I mean, I heard you saying, I think you were reading a text coming in from someone saying that they helped them for 3 months.
Yeah, he was their teacher, even though they were not in the same class.
Yeah, I could concur with her feelings because I used to literally religiously watch him, especially when it was exam time.
So he was your teacher too?
Yeah, he just was able to explain those math sums.
Did it work?
And it worked for me. It actually did. It actually did. I saw his picture on social media and I was just reminiscing about those days where I just sat in front of the TV and practicing maths. Who would have thought?
Well, you're getting so excited about maths. A whole generation of people listening now saying, goodness, I think I should really get into mathematics, thanks to Will Smith and to me saying the same thing. Well, there you are. Okay, the best teacher around. Thank you. Right?
Righty.
The best of the maths. Yeah, and more sports tomorrow.
I'm Tumin Kapele, Mudimukyo.
Oliver Dixon on SAFM.
One has to ask the question, what is the story? What is the city of Johannesburg story? 8 mayors in the last 7-8 years.
The story is a story of a city in crisis that has a multiple level of crisis in terms of a range of service delivery issues. Probably the top of those is a water and electricity crisis that keeps deepening. There's definitely a financial management crisis in the city, somewhere between the city saying it doesn't have enough money and National Treasury saying that it's not spending enough money. There's clearly a financial management issue that the city is facing. But then there's also just looking at the different entities in the city of Joburg that are underperforming. City Power, Joburg Water, the Joburg Property Agency, and other entities that are simply not delivering on mandate, are riddled with scandals of corruption.
Tessa Dooms. Night Talk, Monday to Thursdays, 10 to midnight.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Now, time for the SAFM market update. As always, hosted by Jimmy Moya. Hi, Jimmy. Good chatting to you as always. Let's talk about moving markets first.
Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to the listeners. Lots of results out today. It's been a results-heavy day. We've got conversations with a couple of the companies that gave us numbers. Curo gave us their half-year numbers for the period ended 30 June. We're going to speak to their CEO. We've also got conversations with the CEOs of Spur and DRD Gold. Both those companies gave us full-year results, so a lot more to dig into there from that perspective. And then we've got a conversation with Alan Gray around the two-pot system. We know implementation date is around the corner. The 1st of September is when all of the big changes are set to take place. We're going to look at how to be best prepared for that and what you need to know ahead of that 1 September rollout date. And then we've got our executive lounge feature that we have every Wednesday, and this week's executive is the head of international business at Virgin Atlantic, Liesel Gericke. She's South African born and bred, and now runs effectively one of the largest international businesses for the Virgin Atlantic group. So we're going to speak to her, get a sense of what she gets up to when she's not busy jet-setting around the world. But before we get to that, let's do a quick summary of what's been happening from a markets perspective. It's a sea of red on all international markets and a sea of green on local markets, so we're going to take the win. But let's start with Asian markets. Sydney was down 0.2%, Hong Kong down 0.9%, Shanghai 0.4% in the red, and the Nikkei in Tokyo 1/3% in the red. In European markets, CAC 40 down 0.1%, DAX 0.1, just under 0.2%, and the FTSE in London 0.87% in the red. South African markets had a much better day. Resources not doing so well. They were down 1/3%, but if you remember, they've had 2 consecutive days of green price movement, so we're not too surprised to see a bit of a pullback in the middle of the week. Hopefully they can finish out the week a lot stronger. Industrials up 0.55%. They led the charge on the markets front today. Financial stocks up 0.4%. As a result, the all share was up 1/3%. The top 40 was up 1/3%. Some of those big gainers on the equities side of things, the likes of Invicta were up 6%, the likes of Blue Label Telecoms up 14%, and others like ArcelorMittal up 3%, Telkom up 3%, We Buy Cars up 2.8%, Curo, that gave us those half-year numbers, up 2.7%, APSA doing well as well, 2.5% in the green there, and Rainbow up 2.3%. Some companies that didn't do so well today, DRD Gold, despite giving us their full-year update, market didn't like that. They were down about 6.4%. Goldfields was down 5% or so. If we have a look at the likes of Brait, they were also down about 3%, and Tsogosan was down about 2.4%, with Stadio down another 2.6%. We've got quite a bit to dig into from that perspective as well a little later on, but let's do a quick summary of what's been happening on the currency side of it. The rand kind of holding flat from yesterday, 17 rand 82 against the dollar. 1 British pound will cost you 23 rand and 31 cents. 1 euro will cost you 19 rand and 85 cents, and 1 Australian dollar will be 12 rand and 3 cents. If we look at some commodities price movements, gold price still holding above $2,500 an ounce, $2,509 an ounce there, sitting kind of flat from yesterday this time as well. The price of Brent crude $77 a barrel there. Prices haven't been moving too much there. We might be awaiting some announcements from the OPEC bloc. I'll check on that, and I'll come back to that in our story in our show a little later on. Quick look at platinum and palladium pricing. $977 an ounce on platinum, $949 on palladium. Both having a green day. And if you're looking at cryptos, the price of a Bitcoin is $59,673. The price of an Ethereum coin is $2,607 an ounce there. It has moved in quite positive territory. That Bitcoin price in rands, 1,065,000 rands. We'll come back with these and other stories a little later on, though.
And before I let you go, we've been asking people to put questions to us about things they need some advice on. So as part of this Markets Masterclass, what is it? Fractional investing. What is that?
Well, this came from one of the comments that we got on our Twitter thread when we put this out, Ashraf, was someone put out a comment to say that stokvels might not be the best thing because we don't really talk about investments. And it got me thinking. I actually wrote a piece about stokvels, and that is effectively what fractional investing is part ownership of a bigger slice of something. Many forms of this exist. Stokvels are one example. Easy equities is another example where you can buy a fraction of a complete share. And the advantage to fractional investing is you don't need to put up all of the heavy capital to buy something. If you think about something like a Capitec share, for example, that's trading nearly 3,000 Rand a share, if you don't have the 3,000 Rand to buy a share and you have the option to take up a fractional percentage of that, whether it's through a stokvel, a community savings pool, or something like an Easy Equities that offers you fractional investing, you still have access to that particular market without the heavy capital requirements that come with that. So it has its benefits.
Okay, now we know, and if anybody listening in wants to ask another question or get a question answered by Jimmy around the issues of what we call the Markets Masterclass, then just WhatsApp us. Probably that's the best way. Or you can tweet it out anyway. Just tag me as well as Jimmy. You will certainly find us. Thanks for that. Enjoy your show coming up at 6. Right. Okay, let's get to some of the callers now. Paul is in Bloemfontein. Also wanted to comment about the borders. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Ashraf. It's Paul in Bloom.
Yeah, good talking to you, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ashraf, before you get rid of something, you have to admit that there's something is happening. It has happened. I'm speaking now as a senior citizen. I'm about 70 years now. I'm 70-something. The issue is this corruption has been taking, it has been there for a very long time. Even when we grow up, people were coming from Lesotho. They were paying bribes at the border gate. People were coming from the homeland as well. They had to pay bribes to actually work in Gauteng, everywhere. It has been there. So we have to first and foremost agree that within ourselves as South Africans, we have to get rid of this. That was the way of life which was created by apartheid at that time. If you check, we talk so much about Home Affairs. Who are the people that are working in Home Affairs? They are South Africans, all over. They are South Africans. They are born from the South Africans. It is an inherent thing that has been there.
Well, I hear you. And you think
just a pity that people who know these things that have been happening, they don't come on air. People who are now talking are people who think that this is something new. It has been there. Let's agree and check as to how best can we address this as a nation.
Well,
because this is a national crisis that we are.
Well, I hear you. And
it cannot be eradicated in a minute.
All right. Paul, thanks for that. And yes, it's a crisis, and yes, it impacts on the national pulse. So if I asked you the question, what gets your pulses racing? Clearly, you know what gets Paul's pulses racing. Thanks for that. By the way, so a few days ago, I went to, I was at a mall, and somebody came up to me, and he came to greet me. In fact, two different people. One person came to greet me, but this is how he came, like, hello, you're Ashraf Garda. I listened to your show. I really enjoyed, and I don't want to say any more. I don't want to intrude into your space, and I must respect that. And before I could say much more and just say thank you, he was gone. That was one. There was another person who just walked past me, complimented from far, came close to say, I like what you're doing, and didn't want to engage. And I'm just making that point about because people almost feel like they don't want to intrude in your space. And I want to just say this to you seriously. If I met you anywhere in a public space, come up and say hello. Unless I can't talk to you, I'd be very willing. One of them that I often meet and I want to talk to him is Hassan Lorgat, who calls in often to these shows, and I bumped into him this morning at some event. It's not the first time I've met him, but he's the one guy I reached out to Hassan because Hassan has just got his views on so many things, and he's like this activist general. I mean, how's that for a title? The activist general, not the auditor general. I thought I'll just say that for you, to you. Right, let's get further comments. Another one about Zondo.
Ashraf, you know they ask that story about who would you like to sit down and have a conversation with, and a lot of people would say Trump, or they would say Nelson Mandela. I would love to sit down with Mr. Zondo and have a bottle of wine and a discussion with him about some of the things that went on. Ooh, that would make for an interesting conversation.
Well, there you are. Got it. Who would you like to sit down with? I call it a seat at the table. Who would you like to have a seat at the table with? And you can probably can't take your calls, but you can certainly WhatsApp us right away or even post it on social media. Jerry in Mafikeng, hi.
Hi, Ashraf.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerry. Borders again, right?
Yeah, this border issue will remain a ghost-chasing exercise because it's been government-aided. In the sense that right from the beginning, when the government decided to abandon, the well-researched programs of refugees, and then they allowed everybody to mingle with anybody in the country without putting any controls on these people. So it will remain like that until forever. Because at the moment, there's no one who can handle this situation.
Well, I don't know about the forever. I mean, some things do change. Apartheid never went on forever. Things change. Really, the Berlin Wall comes crashing down. Things happen in the world. I hear the despondency, but hopefully things will change, and they do change. All right, Jerry, thank you for your input. We'll hopefully get time to take one or two more calls in a minute or two. Not in a minute or two, maybe just now, but we'll talk to Taryn Jolly about some fascinating project that Taryn's involved in after this.
The world's best cooking show is finally here. MasterChef South Africa Season 5. You'll meet 20 talented home cooks from around Mzansi, Noma Upumahati, and no matter your favorite dish, see if the chefs can handle the heat in the kitchen in a race to be crowned MasterChef South Africa. Every Saturday, 7:30 p.m. only on S3 Channel 193. MasterChef South Africa, the world's best cooking show, proudly sponsored by Pick n Pay.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Catch me, Bonang Mateba, on a fresh reality series that showcases the business behind being a business. Get to experience an intimate look at my life with family, personal growth, and my mission to uplift young women. Jet with me as we prepare to crown a lucky chaser. Be grounded, be entertained, and be dazzled. Monday, 6 p.m. on S3, it's a date with you and B. Catch Bedazzled by Bonang on S3 every Monday at 6 p.m.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
All right, we will connect to Taryn Jolly in just a moment or two. So, just think about this. Who would you like to, take out to coffee? Who would be that person? So we've heard that previous caller saying Raymond Zondo, but do you have someone, maybe there's two, is there a high profile person who is not gettable normally? So it's completely elusive. I tell you what, I would like, and I'm not talking politics now, because I've had the privilege of interviewing many politicians. From a sports point, for me, at this point in South Africa, it would be a combination of two people sitting together, Rassie Erasmus and Siya Kolisi, seriously. And it's got nothing to do with rugby. I will not talk to them about rugby. I will talk to them about leadership and building the type of, champion teams that build a champion nation. That's what I would be doing, okay? So I wonder who you would be choosing if it was left to you to choose someone that you can sort of take out to lunch, right? Okay, let's see if we can now connect with Taryn Jolly. Just let me remind you as well, by the way, feedback that you have, any feedback you've got on some of the things that we do here on the National Pulse. I'd love to hear from you, and probably the best way is you can send us a WhatsApp. Probably should get an email sorted out too, I'll tell you what, soon. But otherwise, you can just post on social media. Tag me, Ashraf Garda, spelled ASHRAF. Just tag me, Ashraf Garda. Certainly looking forward to your feedback in terms of the things that we do. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. I think we do have Taryn Jolly on the line. Now, Taryn, of course, is certainly well known as a filmmaker and an award-winning filmmaker. That we're going to talk about something completely different. Taryn, I appreciate your time. Hi.
Hey, Ashraf, good to see you.
Thank you so much. Right now, one of the things that we do in this slot as we wrap up the show is we call it winning, right? Because we talk to people who are winning or who actually want to highlight others who are winning, right? So we're going to talk to you about a project that I understand that you've just started, which is very, very inspirational and aspirational at the same time. Tell me about what? High Five, right?
Yeah, High Five. That's it.
Tell me more. What's it about?
It's so to make a long story short, it's awarding people high five for the projects and the programs that they are creating and initiating across South Africa. Starting here and started in Durban and moving forward. Yeah.
So when you say awarding,
I'm nervous.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm looking at your guitar. Don't be nervous. And I'm saying I can't play the guitar. I hope you're not going to ask me to play the guitar because I can't.
Can we cut and start over?
Hey, well, we can't. It's live, as you know, right? So, but you're fine. I think there's no, you are fine. And let me tell you, you're playing a role of amplifying excellence across the board. So why wouldn't we acknowledge you? So you talked about people. How would you go about doing this?
Can you expand on that question?
How would you go about? I mean, you say you want to, acknowledge, identify people or organizations mainly. So tell me the process that you would go about doing that, and how then would you, amplify that in terms of you're giving them this high five.
So we would have a look at the various different organizations and people and projects that are initiating change in South Africa, and we will select them. I mean, we would essentially like to select everybody. Our vision is to be able to showcase every single person, project and program, NGO, business that is out there making a change in our country, to shift that narrative. And how we would go about it is selecting who we'd like to film, and then we do some research and we go there and we interview them, and we just, for me as a filmmaker, I like to spend a few days where I'm filming so I can really get the essence of who they are, what they do, how they interact with the projects that they're working on, and I capture moments in between. So instead of shoving a camera in people's faces, I'm just slowly around observing, and that's how we kind of get the golden nuggets with people interacting. And then we put it together.
And then it'll get flighted. I mean, so it's visual. Flighted on what platform?
We're using YouTube at the moment. We had a nice long chat about what kind of distribution platform we'd like to use. We felt that YouTube would reach the widest audience. YouTube's got a lot of diversity on it, whereas a few other platforms are quite targeted to specific people. So yeah,
well, that's a good point. So have you started already in terms of flighting?
Yes.
So give me some names of people.
One episode out.
All right. So give me who have you talked about or given a high five?
Nicola Jackman.
All right.
Well, Nicola Jackman from the Upliftment Program that's been running for 20 years. Really powerful pioneer and visionary, Nicola. So she was our first one, and what's so beautiful about this episode is Nicola and her NGO, she works with so many other NGOs, so we actually got to tell the story of multiple people just by filming Nikki, who she is and what she does. So she was our first high five.
All right. And your focus is NGOs, right?
In a way, yes. We also would love to showcase those just people who don't have an NGO, but they're doing beautiful projects in communities. I know quite a few people, businesses and companies. We would also love to showcase them. But for the time being, the reason we're drawn to NGOs is because for us, it's a win-win-win. It's obviously we win, they win, the world wins by seeing it. But for an NGO, a lot of them, they don't have the funding to go out and pay a company money to do this beautiful, remarkable film about them. So we get to actually give them a promotional video while high-fiving them and creating the video for what we're doing. So it becomes a twofold.
All right. And how long, how many minutes would this YouTube video, be put into? How long will it cut into?
8 minutes in the future. Our first episode, which was our pilot one, was about 22 minutes. But yeah, so we've definitely decided to go a little bit slower on the time and cut it down to 8. But I really enjoyed the first episode. It shared a lot of information about what our vision is. So in future, it's really just going to be a lot more catchy and snappy and sweet.
Well, I'm going to go to your YouTube site. I'll probably do it just now, the moment I'm done with the show. High Five, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking forward to seeing what came out of episode 1. And how often will you update it then?
So it really depends on our funding. We're definitely funding based. So I generally, how I started creating documentaries is I would do promotional videos for companies, and with the money that I earned, I would go out and create documentaries because that's my passion. And the more I started interacting with communities, I came from, my mother's a missionary, so I spent 20 years growing up in a community where everybody was working with everybody, and it was so beautiful. And I really started to see the power of what people do, and so I got really inspired to create these documentaries. So sorry, the signal's...
No, it's fine. Okay, well, our time's up anyway, as we may have just lost Taryn. Our time is up. Very inspirational. Check it out, High Five on YouTube. High Five on YouTube, and see how they go about amplifying some South Africans, mainly in the NGO space. It's been another fascinating show, so really big thanks to the team that puts it all together, including myself, but everyone who plays a major role. Thank you for that. We'll do it again tomorrow, and feel free to interact with us all through the night on social media. By the way, it doesn't mean the show stops. The show continues. And listen to podcasts. You can download all the podcasts that we've done of some of the key issues of today, and we'll do it again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It's time for the news with Greg.
Thank you again, Ashraf. In this news update, a legal setback for NERSA and police trainees evacuated after Pretoria blast. Good evening. National Energy Regulator NERSA has acknowledged a ruling by the High Court in Pretoria dismissing a leave to appeal application filed by NERSA and the SA Local Government Association. The ruling follows an appeal regarding a High Court case launched by AfriForum against NERSA, compelling the energy regulator to evaluate municipal tariff applications solely based on cost of supply studies. NERSA says it's currently reviewing the court's judgment. AfriForum's Mornay Mostat.
The North Gauteng High Court in Pretoria dismissed NERSA's leave to appeal application because there's no prospect of success. This comes